Just a couple of guys, a couple microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside of me, Mr. Joe DeCapita.
Thanks for that warm welcome. Welcome back, Know-It-Alls, for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are locked and loaded, ready to go. Going to review Week 3. Going to head into the game picks in Week 4. But before we get to that, welcome aboard. And if you're new to the show, do us a huge favor. Help us grow this football community of ours by doing very simple task. Head over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to let you guys know when we go live, and also drop a like as well. Comment. Also, just comment. Just say hello or ask a question. Or if you want to bring up something to talk about, do so.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've had the last couple of weeks. But, Joe, it's great to have you back in the studio.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm feeling a lot better, too.
I feel a lot better. I'm not getting timed out anymore. I felt like, baby in the corner. I was getting put in timeout all the time.
You're out of time.
Sorry. Hey, Joe, it's been real. You're in timeout.
Especially even the last time when I was like, here, we'll just get your last point in real quick. And then it's like, bloop, yup, you're gone.
I just started and then no, I guess that's it. But, yeah, hey, Jim, I mean, what's going on in the NFL right now with this whole love relationship going on with TS and TK?
Oh yeah, everybody. I mean? That's what we gotta be talking about.
Taylor
right now,
Swift,
right? Taylor Swift,
Travis Kelce.
Right? I mean, that's the biggest thing that's going on right now in the NFL.
What is with this? This has nothing to do with football, but this whole past week, every major media entity has been talking about the relationship.
Yeah, it's
or
stupid.
Possible relationship that's there. This has nothing to do with football. Why are we even talking about it?
Well, they do it every time, and it's funny that it's not even almost brought up as a sexist thing. But Tony Romo went through it.
He
Jessica
did.
Simpson, things like that. And you see AJ McLaren when he came to AJ McLaren came to the NFL. All these things, and blah blah blah. Look at this guy's girlfriend, and she's hot or whatever, even too. And then even just oh wow, this is big news. Look at this, the rumors are true. Whoa.
Who cares?
And who cares? It has nothing to do with the game, and I don't really care about his love life or whatever. So
so guys,
it's not even worth talking about. So we're not.
So guys, guess what? We are not going to talk about that because it's not worth it. It's not about football.
No.
We are here to talk about football. We're here to talk about our respected teams and what
if you
the
can
NFL
call
has
our
in
teams
store
respected
for us.
Right now, Joe. Absolutely. So let's get down to it. Hey, let's talk about the Denver Broncos here and that epic loss that they suffered here this past week. I don't know what was even more embarrassing about that whole thing.
Wasn't it?
It's just.
It really wasn't a loss, was it? Can we categorize it as a loss? Because it was a massacre.
It was a massacre.
It was not good at all for Denver fans and the organization. They got put on blast this past week. And the Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins, literally... This doesn't happen in professional sports like this. That score 70 to what was it 20 something
70 to 20.
70-20. That's a college football score. That's what you would see in college football where one dominant team comes in and it's a little bit lower of a team and they come in and just flat out beat them up and dominate them. Yeah. This is the NFL. You do not see scores like this. 70 to 20 in a professional football game. The Dolphins not only just beat them, but they demoralized them.
And it was early on. It was over early.
It was so early. And it was they could literally do anything they wanted on offense, and the defense just followed suit. They just beat them up all game. So, wow. All I got to say is, wow, what a statement game. But at the same time, let's think about it this way, too, is the Dolphins dominated a team they were supposed to dominate. The Broncos are not a top-tier team by any means. So they should have dominated them. We just didn't expect them to flat out blow them out of the game before it even started.
Absolutely. We've got Paul Matty is in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Paul? He said Dolphins just scored again.
There you go. Boom. Hey, how about that?
They score in their sleep.
Yeah, and it is. It's real bad. And what's kind of funny is it's some wicked karma, or I'm just not sure what's up with this, because remember in the offseason when Sean Payton came to the Broncos, was like, hey,
it was hype there.
This was the most, but he came out and bashed Nathaniel Hackett for what he had done wrong. I'm doing everything opposite what Nathaniel Hackett has done because they just screwed this organization up. It wasn't the players. It wasn't this. It was them. They suck. I'm great. And now they're 0-3.
What's the results?
No
the results are terrible.
No results. At this point, I almost feel like I'm watching the home team movie again. Yeah. Like, what do you do? He's jumped onto that losing team, and maybe, just maybe, he's being even too harsh on these guys and isn't getting it, or whatever he's doing. He's not connecting with these guys, like sort of like he did in that movie or something like that. So what does he do to turn this whole thing around, Joe? I mean it's nuts. I mean, at this point, he's got to even say to him, like he did, like, is this his speech? Like, when we go in there, he's like, listen, they're not going to shut the lights off on us this game, okay? And so when all of a sudden they look at the scoreboard and 70-20, you're like, they didn't shut the lights off. We scored 20 points at least. Yeah, they might score 70, but we scored 20. It's like, what the heck is going on here? What good is there coming out of this?
Not much. And I'll say this, like, was the hype warranted for Sean Payton? Yes, because we know how good of a coach he is. The other part of it, though, too, is it's not his team that he's inheriting. So, to be fair, he doesn't have all his said players in place. He doesn't have his system in place offensively, and obviously whoever he brought in some former Saints assistants to help with the defense and whatnot. So, to be fair, first year, we expected a little bit more from the Broncos because of what we're used to from last season defensively, and we thought with him coming in, using guys like Jerry Jeudy, using Russell Wilson, try to revamp his career a little bit. It's just not happening. And just recently, there's been an article put out as of last week where they're kind of hinting towards where Sean Payton isn't necessarily seeing eye to eye with Russell Wilson right now. And Russell Wilson, vice versa. Like, they're just not on the same page. And it's almost like it's one of those type of things where, like, you got a new relationship, like everything's all, rainbows and butterflies. It's all good in the beginning because we haven't done anything yet. We're practicing, we're executing the plays. Well, now reality hits. Now we're 3 weeks into the season. We got nothing to show for in the W column, and we're struggling big time, not just offensively, but also defensively. Even though they've made some nice plays on defense, they're just not getting it done. So, there's a ton of, negative, views on the Denver Broncos right now, and rightfully so. But it's not that surprising, though, either. If we take a look back at last season, we were disappointed. Now, just because one man shows up, yes, he's a good coach. But again, he's inheriting this team and trying to make something out of nothing, and it's just not working.
Well, on top of it, he brings his own guys and his own coaches in this thing too, Joe. I mean, you got to look at Vance Joseph, and the fingers are starting to get pointed there, because if you look at their defense too, on top of it, they're last in total defense, yards allowed per play, run defense, yards allowed, pass per play, passing yards per play. That's just last. But then if you look at everything else too on top of it, they're 31st, 30th, 29th. So you said defense made some plays, but then they've been bad. They've just been flat out bad, and maybe there are a few little highlights, but they're horrible.
Right, but that's also because the offense isn't scoring points. If you don't have anybody scoring points, your defense is on the field all the time. They're getting fatigued. So they can't really make everything. It can't just all be on the defense. Yeah, they got poor rankings. You're absolutely right. But part of that is because they're not scoring. They're not. The defense doesn't have hardly any time to rest. You know what I mean? They're going 3 and out more than they're even getting in the red zone. So all the pressure's on the defense at this point. And until they're able to start putting points on the board and sustaining drives to at least rest the defense and come away with some kind of points to where the defense can be like, all right, it's not for nothing now. Now we go back out there, we do what we do, and let's see how far we can take this thing. So until we get to there, the Broncos are going to continue to struggle until they figure that part of it out. Mike Tackett just commented, he said, $296 million to go 4-14. Broncos country, let's ride, clown face.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now is everybody jumping off this train because they were all saying, hey, last year, Broncos, they're going to do great. Look at Russell Wilson. And then they fell flat on their face. Well, it's Nathaniel Hackett's problem. Now, all of a sudden, Sean Payton, he comes in, you're like, this guy's Super Bowl winning coach, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be able to do it. This is the answer. And you're still in the same boat. Right. So, I mean, now everybody's kind of like, whoa, is this the biggest upset of the year? They're going, 0-3 right now. Oh, my gosh, but maybe we just looked at it and said, hey, this was a growing team that needed to get some things going. And then now, say they're going to face the Bears this week. Yeah. Both 0-3 teams. One of these teams got to go 0-4. So if it is, in fact, if they cannot beat the Bears, who they just got kind of embarrassed here too by the Chiefs, then they're 0-4. Then what happens? Do they go and try and make trades and start to go try and fix this organization early? I mean, do they go by the trade deadline, try and get rid of somebody like Justin Simmons or something like that, try and get some kind of picks or whatnot? Because maybe, Sean Payton's going to do whatever he can to try and turn this thing around. He doesn't want to be the laughing stock of the NFL. No. And
he's got a big ego.
He's kind of, like you said, even though, too, he inherited this, and it was the last 2 seasons here, or at least the repercussions of going and trading and getting Russell Wilson and not having that draft capital.
Definitely. And you look at that, and also you couple that with, like we're talking about how there may be a rift in the relationship between quarterback and coach. Well, guess what, Sean? You decided to come on to this team, and Russell Wilson signed a major extension, which you're stuck with him. So you're going to have to try to make something with Russell Wilson and try to get this team better on board. And just like you mentioned, the lack of draft capital kind of hindered this new coaching staff because they didn't have a first-round pick where they could go and get their guy. You know what I mean? Regardless if it was offensive or defensive, they couldn't get a second-round pick to get their guy. So they kind of were falling behind in terms of draft picks, and they had to just do whatever they could with what they had. And especially you look at like the free agent market with Sean Payton coming in. He had all these players already on the roster. It's kind of hard to just be like, all right, well, let's scrap this guy. We'll bring this guy in and try to like force feed chemistry. It just can't be done that fast. So it's going to be a process for the Broncos, and the Broncos fans out there, I know they're unhappy. I know this is not what they expected, but it takes time to build a team. So it looks like it's going to take a lot more time than what we initially thought.
Yeah, all right, Mike Tackett says, was John Elway the issue in Denver? Russ needs to restructure, and Denver needs to go after playmakers on defense to slow down that KC offense.
They are not going to come close to Kansas City. That's just plain and simple. They don't have the personnel to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. Even if they were to go for some so-called playmakers and try to make maybe a trade here or a trade there, it's not going to be enough. Like whether it be defense, offense, whatever. John Elway was the issue. Absolutely, we talked about it at nausea when Elway was the GM and how his failure he just couldn't find a franchise quarterback in the draft. He drafted 2 times a quarterback, and they both failed. So him as a GM, he was terrible. Absolutely one of the worst GMs I've ever seen. So, he was the issue. That's why he's no longer with the organization right now. Even though he was there for quite some time, over 5 years, it just never worked with him. Russ needs to restructure. You hit the nail on the head. If Russell Wilson wants this team to move forward faster so they can win a little bit sooner, he's going to have to think about restructuring his mega deal and to free up some cap space so this team going into next season will be able to have some cash flow where they can maybe obtain some bigger name free agents to help move this team along.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think I agree with you about the John Elway thing. Same thing, Mike Tackett. You're seeing the results of it, and then again, maybe that's why he was like just stepping down because he didn't really do anything with the draft at all. So his one major contribution was convincing his buddy Peyton Manning to come aboard to try and get, a victory when they won a Super Bowl. Wow, surprise. You won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning.
Who was already a legend.
Freaking mind's blown. You're a freaking, a master. What I mean? It's like, come on.
He thought that was going to save his career is really what it was.
Right. And, and they happen, if let's face it again, if you look, unfortunately for Peyton Manning, if you look at the two teams he's faced in the Super Bowls that he won, they were kind of inferior in a sense. At least they were kind of lucky to kind of be there in a sense, that were beatable teams at that point. Some of the other teams, again, the Saints, and then, Seattle Seahawks, he kind of ran into a, defense wins Super Bowls, and that's what he ran into there. But that was his one accomplishment, John Elway. And after that, he just figured, I can't do this anymore. And this is what happens when you see that, when you're picking up the pieces and trying to move on. So and it sucks because they're in a tough division right now with the way that some of the teams are, the Chargers and the Chiefs. But right now, the Chargers aren't looking very good as it is now, too. They barely squeak out with a win here after that one. But
once again, the Chargers are beat up. They have an injury list of all kinds of big names. Derwin James, Joey Bosa.
The same names. All
the same guys.
Joe, and that's what I hear. Mike Williams, what I'm saying?
He's done for the year,
And let me tell you, though, again, that game, if it goes the opposite way, though, if we're talking about the Chargers real quick, Brandon Staley's got to really face the heat because now they're even asking him, anyways, with that 4th and 1, what were you going? What
in
were
his
you
press
thinking,
conference,
with this and this, and he's like, well, if we got it there, we would give enough time, and they would have tried to march down to score anyways. So blah blah blah, and trying to negotiate a real logical answer, but really it didn't make any logic at all because if you don't convert there, which you didn't, you just gave them, position right there. Not to have to march down the field. He was like, there's still going to be time on the clock. Yeah, but so what? There's going to be a lot less if you give it away there.
But you still need to score then.
Yeah. I mean, oh, my gosh, dude.
So here's the thing, too, is he's one of those coaches these new age coaches that read too much into analytics, too much into these studies that like, if you go for it on 4th down, you can be just as successful as if you try to go on 3rd and short. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's trying to rationalize going for it on 4th down all the time. And regardless of where you are on the football field. And that's why he's taking so much heat right now. He took a lot of heat last year with some of his calls that cost them some games. And then the year prior cost them a playoff berth. Mm-hmm. So, he's on the hot seat for sure. And right now, we talked about it in the offseason heavily about can he curb that habit? If he does that, that might actually help this team get more wins than before, and we're not seeing it. We're not seeing any difference in his play calling, any difference in his decision-making, and it's showing.
Yeah, absolutely, because if it wasn't for the T.J. Hawkinson drop right there that ended up turning into a pick, again, he's got egg in his face again, and then there's you cannot look away from the things that he's done like this with gambling on this and trusting. I'm going to trust in my defense and blah, blah, and they were going to have time left anyways. Give me a break, dude. I'm like, this is stupid. You're so stupid. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for the time that it's going to be. They got to get rid of him, you think? Because, again, look at this team when they're sitting there 1-2 right now. When we've had kind of expectations, if you want to do air quotes, about it, they've kind of had expectations. Because look at Justin Herbert. Why you got him young? You know what I mean, too? And you still have a pretty good nucleus around you. Because, again, more people's going to start asking for more money in this team and here and there. And then all of a sudden, or the team's going to break up. Then where are you going to be? You trust in this guy to rebuild this team after what he's done here now and be able to make a playoff push and stay consistent with what you're doing? I don't think so. You know what I'm saying?
You think about the money that's been thrown around that team. J.C. Jackson getting big, huge money to play corner for them. Derwin James redoing it and getting a huge extension. Herbert, he got his money. But here's the thing is like, if someone was to say, we pointed the blame on the offensive coordinator last year. Was it really the problem with Joe Lombardi? No, not at all. I mean, you look at what Herbert's been able to do since he was a rookie to now, still a really good top-notch starting caliber quarterback. Mm-hmm. Look, 74.4% completion percentage right now up to this week currently. He leads the league in that, in completion percentage. The guy has just under 1,000 yards passing in 3 games. Like, he's doing his due diligence. He has 6 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. Like, it's not the offense. It never was the offense. He was doing that the year prior and killing it. He's doing it again. So you can only blame other people around you so many times. Now what? Now it's, once again, it's back on Staley. It's back on in his lap right now because of his decision making. And it just keeps rearing its ugly head every single week. And he just keeps sinking lower and lower. There's only a matter of time until the ownership group and everything are going to be like, you know what? We're not winning because of him now. He's costing us games. It's not our players. It's not who we have there. It's him. So I think he's one of those coaches. We talked about it last year about would he or wouldn't he get fired in the offseason, and we were like, well, maybe not this year. But now that we're currently here in week 3 of this season, it looks like it's a possibility.
Absolutely. So that's a little bit about the Chargers too, as well. If you guys have some comments or even things you guys want to talk about, definitely drop them in the comment section. We'd greatly appreciate it. But Joe, we talked about that blowout win, with the Miami Dolphins. So then the question has to come up even at this point. If we talk about early candidates for the MVP, is Tua Tagovailoa the leading MVP candidate after the first 3 weeks here of the season? Because
got to talk about it.
Legit. Because what they've been able to do, and they said, there was questions about this guy. Even if you looked at the first couple of seasons here, people first questioned him staying healthy. You know what I mean? Okay,
right. Oh, well, of course we did.
What did he do? He, especially this season, started bulking up a little more, doing the jiu-jitsu and everything, too, to help things, learn how to fall to keep himself healthy on there. Okay, check. Bang. All right, so next thing, all right, try and keep the ball secured, not do turnovers, because, again, when it got into crunch time before with the previous regime, they threw in Ryan Fitzpatrick when it came down to crunch time. He wanted the veteran to try and win you the game and pull him out. So what does that do for a confidence of a quarterback? You know what I mean?
Right.
He has the confidence and to keep moving forward, and then now to get the weapons that he had too. That was the other question from last season. What do you do now that you have a few weapons? You light it up. And that's what, and not even, different from what they did last year. They're doing it even more this season, man. It's just crazy how unstoppable this team looks, to where they just look like the juggernaut on here. And it's not even just the offense as well. The defense is doing it, on the field too as well. So, all together, when you look at who's the strongest power coming out of the AFC, you got to really take a hard look now at the Miami Dolphins and really give credit to what this kid has been able to do.
Yeah, and not only that, but give a lot of credit to Mike McDaniels, who's calling the plays, and very creative offensive mind, came over from underneath Kyle Shanahan's wing, and this guy is just flat out killing it with play calling. Because the other kind of nuance to his philosophy is speed. Because you look at all their positions that they have. They drafted Jalen Waddle, pretty fast guy, can run great routes. They trade for Tyreek Hill. We all know him. And then they drafted this year a guy by the name of Dave Achane, running back, who debuted this past week and absolutely slayed it on the ground. Like, him and Mostert together were running at will all over the football field. Were catching passes and running with it. Like, they came out like gangbusters on offense, and you could not slow them down, stop them, anything. They literally did whatever they wanted, and that's big props to Mike McDaniels and his creative offensive play calling as well. To go with all these players that he has at his disposal, the offensive line is upgraded and playing way better. And in Tua, they're being able to protect Tua. He's only had a handful of quarterback hits.
Only for a handful of hits here too as well. Yeah.
And it's like, it's insane to think like what this offense is capable of right now. We're only week 3 into the season. And if Tua is able to keep the stats going like he is, and this team to stay pretty healthy, and Tua can stay upright, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, he's only been sacked once. And if you look at his stats, soul stats on his own here, let's take a look at it. He's got a 72 out of 101 for a 71.3% completion percentage.
Yep. He's fifth in the league in that.
There. Yeah, and passing yards, he's 1,024.
Second in the league in that.
And he has 8 touchdowns and 2 INTs.
We got touchdowns. I think he's second in that as well.
Kirk Cousins in that, I think too, right? And there he goes.
And then interceptions. He's tied with like everybody in the bottom half of the league. You know what I mean? So he's doing a good job protecting the ball and not turning it over. The only other thing is like you mentioned, like fumbles, right? Like in the pocket or him trying to escape maybe.
Yeah, ball security there.
Ball security there. He's got to work on, and then you go like let's look at QBR.
Yeah,
QBR in the league, he leads the league in QBR. So right there and then, just like the reason why we're bringing it up is Tua's on pace to slaughter stats and really kind of make a run at this MVP. We know it's early. We know it's only after week 3, but it's hard not to look at this guy and this offense and say, yeah, he's a candidate for sure right now.
Yep, and Joe, I mean, I'm going to give you that little tidbit that they do on, every now and then too, but I had a little thing at the bottom of that. It says tied for the longest winning streak against Super Bowl winning coaches, actually, too.
There you go. I mean, they're getting it done.
Tag that onto your little resume, too, as well. Right. You know what I'm saying? After just defeating Sean Payton. So, Greg Schreiner's in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Greg?
Mr. Spadas himself.
Yeah, he goes, I hate seeing it. Those Dolphins are on fire right now. I hope it was a horrible Bronco defense that made them look that good. Well, honestly, they just flat out just made them all tired. They tired them right out by the end of the game because they were too busy chasing them all over the football field. So
that's the game plan.
I don't think the Broncos defense is a horrible defense by any means. I think they're still a really good defense. It's just they don't have an offense to back them up. So Buffalo Bills, Miami Dolphins. That's this week. 1 o'clock game.
That is.
Greg, I know that this is going to be a battle for both teams, and we're gonna dive into that when we get to our game picks.
Yeah, I mean, but again, when you look at this thing and what happened with the Broncos too, as well, and they are just demoralized right now. Did you see the Garrett Bowles interview? He's just
he is
tired
so
of losing, like
aggravated and pissed off, and he's like, I'm just tired of losing. I can't stand it anymore. And this kind of resonates with the whole locker room too. He's not the only one that thinks this. You can only imagine guys like Jerry Judy, who came from a winning college football program, is disgusted with losing. Everybody there, Patrick Surtain, you name it, they're all upset. So at some point, there's got to be a breaking point because you don't want to lose the team. You don't want to lose the locker room. Sean Payton is a very good coach, but like you said, so in his earlier years as a coach, he had an issue with having a relationship with players and treating them basically like robots. Is that kind of creeping back in now because he took some time away from coaching? Now he's coming back. Is he still into that rough and tough love type of thing where it doesn't matter to him?
So I'm saying he might have to go back and watch home team and see what he did wrong. You're like, hey, what is it?
But and that's the thing is if you are starting to lose the team, which I don't think it's happening yet, but it's on the brink of it. You know what I mean? When players are starting to actually talk in public now, how disgusted they are of where they're at, that's not a good thing. So you don't want to lose your key players. Justin Simmons, we know like a year ago, was looking to maybe test free agency, got the franchise tag, still remaining in Denver. Now, does this kind of make him think, I definitely want out of here? Like, as soon as I can, I want out. Greg Schreiner also says, he goes, I'll be at that game. Wow, that's a great game
awesome,
to be at.
Dude.
Man, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, home crowd better show up on that one, too, because it's going to be tough here.
Oh, they will. They're the Bills fans are great. They definitely show up.
Yeah, I mean, so that's going to be awesome there, too. I mean, that's probably going to be the game of the week here, especially for the early game. It's a 1 o'clock game, right?
There's a lot of 1 o'clock games. There's only 3 4 o'clock games, and then you got the night game. So the majority of this week is all 1 o'clock pretty much.
Yeah. All right, so, I mean, one other thing, I wanted to talk about, too, on top of some of this, too, is we got to do it, Joe. I mean, because we're even out here and stuff in New York. The Jets, you know what I mean?
No, I don't. Tell me.
You do. I mean, the defense is only so good, and you can get you where you need to get to, you know, as far as you can. But if you don't have the quarterback there too as well, at least a guy that's gonna, you know, keep the turnovers low and whatnot.
Yeah.
And with the weapons that he has, I mean, it's just, you know, you're squandering what you have.
Yeah.
But what do you do? I mean, because you do have Aaron Rodgers in your back pocket eventually.
Next year.
I mean, but he's your veteran. So why would you go and get another veteran? And obviously they don't, so they go and get Trevor Siemian now. So now you're looking at it, okay, this guy can battle probably for the starting spot then, I guess.
Well, Trevor Siemian is no slouch by any means. He's been a backup his whole career, but anytime he's gotten a chance to come in, he's definitely helped teams win. He's a guy that's very, you know, he's careful with the football. He doesn't force throws. He's not like going to be the guy that's going to carry you to the Super Bowl, but he's a guy that can come in, manage the game for you, and you know, drive down the football field a little bit here and there, put some points on the board, and let your defense take over. So Trevor Siemian, good veteran to bring in right now to the Jets, and it's going to be a matter of time. He's going to have to learn the playbook, obviously. Just got signed. And I'm sorry, but Zach Wilson, man, you're killing me. You're absolutely killing me. Like, I thought that this kid, he's so young and needed to develop. And I thought, like, maybe with a whole other year of development, and then especially with Rodgers coming over to kind of help, you know, get him more mature and get him on the same page, it's not showing results. Like, the kid is still making the same mistakes he was 2 years ago. So just by that happening right now for Zach, it seems like he's almost a lost cause at this point. Like, he's still young. Maybe if he goes to a different offense or a different team or whatever, maybe he can kind of, you know, get a little bit better maybe, but it's a big question mark. So Trevor Siemian coming in here, it's going to maybe take probably for like a veteran quarterback takes about like maybe 2 weeks to learn a playbook comfortably. So look for Trevor Siemian to possibly be the next starter for the Jets.
Right. I mean, at least they had to bring in one more guy again because, I mean, what else are you going to do? Tim
you got to
Boyle,
try.
You know,
because it's still early in the year.
Some of the fans are asking for, even so much that they're conflicted. What do we do? They want to make a move because they expected more.
Right.
You can see it even, too. You know, they're talking about that stadium selling out in season tickets and everything. And if you looked at that game, there were empty seats everywhere in that game that you know they just played.
You know what's interesting though is the Patriots made a move this past week, and they signed Will Grier from the Cowboys practice squad. Right, that's a savvy move that I thought the Jets should have done because Will Grier is a younger quarterback. You could have signed him to your active roster right away, and then have him learn and kind of because we've seen him in preseason for Dallas. He was lighting it up. I understand it's preseason, I get it, but the potential is there for him. So the Patriots nab him. Kudos to them. But that's a move that I kind of expected like the Jets would do because a quarterback like that on a practice squad, maybe you should have gobbled him up too.
Yeah, and well, I mean, it also could be just the key that Bill Belichick's trying to help, you know, take an advantage maybe of when he plays the Cowboys here. You know, maybe get something out of him if they could dig him for it, you know, him and Zeke. And that's already been in the headlines, too, as
that's
well.
Not going to happen.
That the Cowboys have openly said, hey, we're changing a few signs for this game moving up and stuff like that. So
teams do that all the time.
But, like, we've talked about it a bunch of times.
Because, like, Zeke, that's what they were doing. They're trying to get information from Zeke to, like, what are you guys doing on offense? Like, what are your signs and everything? Doesn't matter because the Cowboys are going to change everything. Right. It's not the same offense either or the coordinator.
Yeah.
So everything changes.
Speaking about the Cowboys, Joe, again,
I don't want to talk about them.
Just real quick. I mean, it's got to be something because everybody's going to talk about this anyways. You know, with
they
things
lost.
Like, they lost. Right? And it's like, oh my goodness, you know, after we thought they were, you know, again destined to win the championship.
No, we didn't think that.
I know
we did not think that.
But here we go. We come back to reality a little bit,
yeah.
And they kind of overlooked this opponent, I think. And there's two things that can be, I guess, said about this out of that coming out of this game. Dallas again isn't, you know, the best. There, you know, there is an issue or flaw even with that offense and what they got. Defense can't do it at all. We saw the defense do a lot of it for them, where the offense didn't have to do a lot. The defense did a lot for them.
Yeah.
That's why you didn't see a whole lot of big numbers out of, Dak Prescott. He didn't have to be asked to do a lot. This week, the Cardinals played tough on him, and they asked upon him to do something, and he couldn't get it done. And this offense, you saw what it is for what it really is, and it's not that great. With the weapons that you do have. But, so that's the one thing. Again, Dallas, you're seeing what their offense truly is, and they're just going to be – they're above average team, but they're not one of the elite, if you want to say they're one of the top 3.
And especially after this week, sustaining major injuries. Trayvon Diggs done for the year. Tyron Smith left the game last week. He didn't practice up to this point in the week. Another one, right guard Zach Martin is also hasn't practiced up to midweek. And their center, Tyler Biadasz, has not played or practiced at all either. So you're looking at your middle to whole other side of the line.
Welcome to what the Giants have been dealing with.
Exactly. Let's see how Dallas handles this.
Yes.
They made a signing to the practice squad, Billy Price, guy that's kind of a veteran that's been around there as a center. But man, decimated by injuries, offensive line has been hit hard, and we kind of thought that this could be a problem down the road. We didn't expect it to happen this soon in the season, but man, it's already happening now to Dallas, and they're missing their top tier corner in Diggs. A lot is going wrong in Dallas. Dallas, we have a problem, not Houston.
Yeah, absolutely not. But then on the other side of this, the Cardinals have played everybody tough.
Their defense has been playing really well.
Weeks. Even offense have kind of stayed up there with it. Josh Dobbs, despite of what they, if you look at them at paper, again, you're looking at this team like they are tanking for the year. They're not going to be able to do a whole lot.
Yeah, no,
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
You're right.
But Dobbs have really taken this role upon himself and been kind of that outspoken leader and gunning it down there, making some plays with what he has. And James Conner is running like an animal. I mean, this team just seems really fired up. On offense and defensive, on their side of the ball here. And even last week, they didn't even have like Budda Baker on defense either.
No, he's been injured.
So, I mean, so the fact that they've been playing hard when they weren't expected to do a whole lot, they just look at themselves as we're not that, underdog team or whatever, blah, blah, blah. We're going to fight. We're going to, almost a reminiscent of what, Dan Campbell did for the right. Lions kind of, it kind of seems for me.
Right.
They got a young head coach here, and he's just there on the sidelines, just poised and under control and just playing it out as it is. But I think he really, and you saw it, the dumping the Gatorade on him, I think he's just got these guys inspired, and they are fighters here, Joe. And that's the one thing we've learned about this team, that it isn't such a surprise that they beat the Cowboys here, because they put 20 up early on the Giants. They were up early in week 1 as well and just barely lost in the end. And then right here, they put it to the Cowboys. The Cowboys weren't able to answer.
Yeah, and Dobbs, I'm going to be honest, Dobbs, I'm actually surprised about how well he's playing. He's been a backup forever, you know what I mean, in this league, and has never really gotten a shot to be the guy. Like, we've seen him with the Steelers probably once, and it didn't look very good. But with this Arizona team, I mean, Dobbs seems to be taking control of the offense, distributing the football to whoever's open. He's not trying to push anything or make anything happen. Protecting the football. He's doing a lot of good things in this offense, and that's kind of what's leading and helping them score points. And you mentioned James Conner. James Conner's been doing this ever since he came into the league, kind of under the radar, really. No one's really talked about him that much, except for when he was a Steeler. But now, even in Arizona, he's doing the same thing, man. He's a hard runner. He doesn't give up easily. He's hard to tackle. And a big problem that we always thought was going to really hinder this offense is the line. The line has kind of been, duct tape and bubble gum, assembled, and hopefully they can do what they got to do. And they're doing enough. They're doing enough to execute these plays. And defensively, I am shocked. I'm shocked on how good they are playing defensively. I thought, when they decided that you heard they're trading Isaiah Simmons over to the Giants. I'm like, oh, they're fire selling everything now. They're just kind of gathering draft picks. They're setting up for next season. That's what it seemed like. But no, they are surprising the league right now. They are very competitive in every single game thus far. And they really haven't been tested that much. They faced a lot of teams that could go either way for either team. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And they just seem to capitalize on everything. I want to see what happens when they face a much tougher team all around. And let's see how competitive they are then.
Well, yeah, we'll see that this week when they play the San Francisco 49ers.
I think that might be a little too tough. that might be a little bit more too tough. Yeah, because in week 1 they played Washington.
Yeah.
You know, so they face teams where they could go. Let's see what happens. Maybe not this week. This week, I don't know. Actually, you know what? No. Let's see what they can do against the Niners because here's the thing: is
playing the best. Let's see what you do against the best.
Like as fans or as people that do different shows and everything, and they analyze these teams. Don't be so quick to judge because we were quick to judge in the offseason. Said, well, there's no way.
A few different things.
They don't have Kyler Murray yet. You know what I mean? They don't have Hopkins anymore. Like we listed all these reasons, and they are superseding our expectations right now. So the Niners, usually these rivalry games, they're always close. They know each other. So we'll see this week. We'll see how hard they play.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So
Greg, if you're still there, I got one request for you.
Oh, there you go.
Going out to Buffalo, right? Tell all your Bills fans to go hop on the Football on the No Show wagon.
There you go. Yeah.
Have them go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Also hit the notification bell, let them know when we go live. And if they're not big into YouTube or if they don't want to follow us on Facebook and they're big podcasters, tell them to hit us up anywhere they get their podcasts.
There you go. Way to find that spot to put that in there for the promo.
You
are
welcome.
There you go.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I mean, it was another good week. We saw some of these teams again trying to right the ship. The Cincinnati Bengals finally get a victory, but it was rough.
Hey,
I mean,
how about those unis, man? Those white unis, they were nice.
I like the white tigers.
I like that.
I really like the white tiger unis.
That was good.
Man. It's really, especially when the fans too. They give out the shirt or whatever to do the whole whiteout.
Right,
and stuff.
right.
The whiteout is great, but that's what I mean. This is a team that's won. Well, they were 0-2, and that place was packed. The jungle was packed. The Jets, again,
was that their home opener?
It was their home opener.
Yeah, that's why.
You know what I mean? It's just when
people
you
bought
see
season
teams
tickets
like
for
that show up for that. It's just you got to support your team.
Greg just goes, ha ha. He goes,
I'll tell them all.
I'll tell them all about it.
Tell them all.
Appreciate it.
Everybody, as you
Get
body slam somebody through a table.
That's right.
Or drink out of a bowling ball.
Yeah, anybody you see, make them go jump right on there and follow
mustard
us.
Guy.
Let's go.
Tell him. There you go.
Get them all.
All right.
All
yeah, so I mean, again, one thing I did notice with Cincinnati, again, they did what I told them to do too, Joe. They started to run a little bit more of Joe Mixon, and look what you get. A little bit, be a little more balanced. But still, Joe Burrow's looking a little rough, Joe. Again, he says maybe that knee is just really bothering him that much.
His calf,
just missing.
He really got beat up in that game too. You saw him limping a couple times because he was being rushed and he kind of had to move quickly. Even got a little bump or a little hit, and he's gingerly was limping around. You could tell on his facial expression, like how much pain instantly happened, and he was just like he grinded it out. The warrior quarterback that he is, and finish the game. But I'll say this: Cincinnati is not Cincinnati yet. Like we still haven't seen the offense that has been super explosive up to this point. But we've seen the defense. Now, Dax Hill, I got to mention him. Dax Hill kind of took over that game. The safety from Michigan, really kind of almost like his coming out party in the NFL because he was injured last season, didn't really play that much. Now he's just showing up and showing out. Like the guy is all over the football field, making plays, knocking balls away, picking the ball off, stuffing the run. He was crazy good in that game. So
what's great too is Hendrickson too, and I think he kind of gets overlooked in a sense too.
I don't overlook him.
I know we don't, and then some people
ridiculous.
know who he is, but a lot of times when people talk about the pass rushers,
the DMs,
and stuff like that,
Miles Garrett,
but it's even Micah Parsons, bang,
right.
Aaron Donald, bang, interior pass rusher or whatever, but Hendrickson, I just feel like he doesn't get enough credit, and he was just all over. And that one, man.
Yeah, I mean,
beast.
It's interesting because like Max Crosby's another big name, right? And Max Crosby is getting, I'm not
double team, triple team sometimes.
It's ridiculous, but yeah. But like everybody knows who Max Crosby is.
Yeah.
But Trey Hendrickson is just as good. Like Trey Hendrickson is just as good as some of these other elite pass rushers. And still, even now, like they were talking about him last night because of all the plays he was making. But it's like, how come we weren't talking about, how come the major media out there wasn't talking about him a season ago in the same light? Because the dude is a baller. He gets to quarterbacks. He stops the run. He's just a freak athlete for his size, especially. And he just makes plays. That's all he does.
All right, Joe. You know what time it is. We are getting back to some of our old segments and stuff like that. It is time for your decapitation of the week, Joe. What do you got for your decapitation of the week?
Oh, just very simple. Like I only found there was one really good hit. And I'll tell you right now, unfortunately, it happened to one of my Raiders. But Devontae Adams gets smoked. Like he gets absolutely smoked, and it was by far the worst hit of the week. So that's my decapitation of the week right there. He just got smoked by the Steeler linebacker Holcomb coming over the middle and separated him from the ball. Like it was just God awful.
Yes, it was brutal.
I worried about him. I was like, oh man, Devontae's dead.
You got the upper deck. You know, that's what it was. And that's what a decapitation is. And that is Joe DeCapi's decapitation of the week. Make sure you guys check that out. He's going to try and get those out to you every week. And also, shout out to Ding Productions who can help that be possible for everybody out there.
They are the source of our
Ding
biggest
Productions.
hit.
So check them out on
cuts.
YouTube too. Check out more videos that they do. They do not only
they
big
do
hits, but
different ones too.
so.
Like I know like Ding Productions also does not just the big hits, but they also do like crazy plays and scoring plays and highlights and all and what have you. So the person that does it, very talented. They find all these different highlights and everything, and he does a really good job.
Absolutely. All right, so Joe, it's time for the picks competition.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Getting into our picks right now. I was able to make up some ground. I'm only down by one now. It's 31-17 and 30-18. So right there, it's early, but I
gotta say that
we get a feel for some of these.
I have to say this. Like I said it off the air, but I think it's amazing on how good of a job we do with picks every week because unlike these so-called professionals out there doing these picks right before the games start, we're doing picks midweek before the final injury report. So we're like literally guessing what's going to happen with the injuries and trying to make these picks to the best of our knowledge. So
absolutely.
Shout out to us.
Shout out to us. Yes, well done. Yes, and we don't change them really usually too, unless there is some.
Unless there's like a certain circumstance that pops up.
All right, here. So play along with us out there, you guys. You got your picks. Play along
Let's
with
go.
us here. So here we go. Thursday night, tomorrow night. We've got the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers, and this is tough now because again, you want to talk about things where we thought something might be, and then we're kind of surprised here. I am surprised at what's going on with the Green Bay Packers here.
Yeah.
In way Jordan Love, because maybe even too because I've heard what has come out of camp and what they think of him, and he took so long kind of be the starter, but maybe it was just Aaron Rodgers was just there and kind of keeping him down.
Of course.
And just the fact that he would not give this guy, a shot to do something, but he looks really good. He's got this team on his shoulders. He gets fired up and making some plays all around, not only with his arm, but his legs too on top of it. And even on the defensive side of the ball, not making too many mistakes. They've lost a few different guys on defense, but one true thing is, again, Rashad Gary right there making plays for them and getting it done. And they look really competitive, and so that's what makes this game a lot harder to pick, Joe.
Yeah, and right now, let's go to the injury report right here. For the Detroit Lions, David Montgomery looks like he's questionable for tomorrow night's game. I don't know if he'll play or not. The tackle and the guard for the Detroit Lions, both starters, Taylor Decker and his one crazy name, I'm going to call him Halapo Vaitai because his first name is ridiculously long. He's ruled out. So they're already missing a starting guard. Taylor Decker could be a late addition to play. He's questionable as of right now with an ankle. Cornerback Emmanuel Mosley, this guy still questionable. Like, we thought he didn't even start like week one. So he's got to be close to coming back. Maybe this will be the game. But again, a little bit banged up there on Detroit and then Green Bay. Aaron Jones with a hamstring is questionable for tomorrow. I expect him to play. I don't think that's going to hold him out. Wide receiver Christian Watson, a guy that we've been looking forward to in Green Bay to see him out on the football field. He's questionable as well. I hope he makes his debut to see what he can do out there. And then we go to the O-line once again. David Bakhtiari is ruled out. Offensive lineman Elton Jenkins is also ruled out. Two very, very key components to this offensive line. So that's going to be a big deciding factor where they're going to be headed in terms of protection. And corner Jair Alexander has a back issue. He's questionable. I don't think that's going to hold him out. Like all these big names and stuff, they're coming to play. I don't think that's going to hold him out. So both teams have little injury issues with the offensive line, so that kind of makes this pick right here very, very interesting. The Lions, they are who we thought they were. You know, they're a very gritty team. Their offense is starting to really kind of pick up. Their defense is following suit. Aiden Hutchinson, good God. That's another up-and-coming stellar pass rusher that is wreaking havoc in this league. We saw him in the first week against Kansas City. They didn't have an answer for him, and up to this point, nobody does. Yep. So definitely something to keep your eye on there. Defensively, they seem pretty healthy. So, I don't think I expect too much to change there. And in Green Bay, like you mentioned, Jordan Love, we're a little surprised by him. We didn't know what to expect with him, with the changing of the guard with Rodgers. But got the confidence in the teammates. He's got confidence from the coaches, and he's executing. So defensively, again, Green Bay is also still pretty healthy. Green Bay's at home. That's what makes this really difficult to pick. But I think I'm going to go with Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers in this one.
All right. Yeah, it's tough because Green Bay always plays tough at home. It is a lot closer than you think because even Detroit, a lot of times, we think they're a great up-and-coming team, but we saw it even with week 2, kind of underwhelmed when we thought, all right, they just beat a big team. Now it's time to move forward, and they kind of laid an egg. If they want to stay competitive, they feel like they're one of the top upper teams here and competitive and able to be a contender in this league, they got to beat a team like the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to roll the dice with them because I think they have the ability to.
Oh, of course
but will they? So I'm going to roll with the Detroit Lions here.
I'm going to pick Detroit when it's in Detroit.
There you go. Yeah, right? Exactly.
I feel more comfortable that way.
Yeah. That's a big difference here. Again, with these rivalry teams, who knows? When Green Bay's been the top dog for so long in this division, maybe it's even tough for some of these teams to try and combat that and beat that and get out of that shadow. The Atlanta Falcons now and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville. There's something going on in Jacksonville. I don't know, man.
And we can't figure it out.
Was it just a flash in the pan last year? Who knows? It's kind of seeming like it might have been, but maybe they're just, I don't know, trying to figure some things out, going through some woes because they look really competitive at times, but then all of a sudden, it's a disaster. A team that they probably should have been able to beat last week. Again, if you're going to expect to be one of these top teams in this division, let alone into this league to try and make a push like they did last year, you got to be able to beat teams like that. So this is going to be interesting. And I think this Atlanta game is a lot more interesting because of that loss to the Houston Texans here last week. They are playing at home, and Atlanta comes into there. It's going to be a hostile environment. Atlanta has seen some woes too as well still. So this is going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to edge, I think, just towards Jacksonville just to see what they can do here if they do start to turn it around. If not, they lose to Atlanta, then there's questions here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the one thing about the Jaguars is, for some odd reason, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed in what the Jaguars have been, the product they've been putting out on the football field. They are not the same Jaguars we saw last year, and they're 1-2 right now. That's not what we expected. Expected at the very least for them to be 2-1 at this point. And some in the game last week, I'm sorry, but you played the Texans. Yes, they're not a pushover by any means. We knew that they were going to be competitive and play well. But C.J. Stroud, his emergence right now as a rookie quarterback, slinging the rock all over the football field and has no picks. I don't know when the last time that's happened for a rookie. To first 3 weeks of the season and you have 0 picks, that's crazy. That could change in this game, maybe. But the Jaguars, I just don't know. I'm not buying into the Jaguars like I thought I was going to in the beginning of the year. Zay Jones sounds like he's a long shot to play, so they're going to miss one of their key contributors. Anton Harrison, their right tackle, limited in practice. He's going to most likely going to start, definitely. Josh Allen, definitely going to probably start, even though he's on the injury list. And then Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd's going to be missing a few weeks. Their middle linebacker. So I don't know how much that is going to kind of hinder them, I guess. But I think they'll figure out a way defensively to overcome that. Jaguars are at home against Atlanta. And for the Falcons, I expected them to give a little bit more of a fight last week. Didn't see that from them. And really because I feel like Desmond Ridder he's up and down. He's too inconsistent right now for the Falcons. I think, I just can't. I have a hard time buying in Jacksonville.
I'm going to go like Atlanta, though, too.
I'm going to go Atlanta in this one because Atlanta is 2-1 and Jacksonville's losing a lot. So they're 1-2. I'm going Atlanta in this one. I'm going out.
There you go. All right. Next, here we go. There's the game that, Greg Schneider's going to be at. Here we go. The Dolphins and the Bills. Yeah. This is going to be tough, man, because, again, the Bills kind of don't look the same, too, as well. Everybody wants to say, too, oh, here we go, Josh Allen, they right the ship. Here they go, and they blow out, do well against the Bears here and things like that, and they come back with a win the week before after that loss to the Jets. But still, there's still something kind of missing here for me here for the Bills again. And I don't know what it is, but there's something in the sauce that's still not right yet. There's something yet. And when you have to face a team like the Miami Dolphins, who seem like everything's clicking, this could be tough. Luckily, they do have the home crowd here to their advantage, which would work really nicely here to get them all amped up here. But Buffalo, they've always had that stigma again, though, when you go against some of these tougher teams that, look like the big real deal playoff contenders, the high-flying offense to try and contend with it, they end up losing out. You've lost out to the Chiefs, who don't even have a defense that is good as something like what the Miami Dolphins have been able to do. Maybe seeing this one's in Buffalo, I might side with Buffalo on this one because they do get it, and maybe they could split, games here too. But I haven't seen enough out of their defense, so I think I'm going to ride with the Miami Dolphins here on this one.
Gotcha. So, what do you think? Real quick with the Dolphins, they have a few guys on the injury report, but nothing real serious. Pretty much most of it is like limited and full practices, so they're going to be pretty healthy. Jalen Waddle looks like he's going to make his return this week, and that's a big deal because they're playing the Bills' defense. Other than that, the one key thing that I'll say that might be missing is Teron Armstead, their left tackle. He didn't practice up to this point, but that doesn't mean that he won't later in the week. So something to monitor there. And as far as the Bills, they're a little hampered by injury, especially on the back end of the secondary. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer also have not practiced up to this point this week. And Leonard Floyd, one of their pass rushers, is now out. Well, we got Greg chiming in here like crazy.
Yeah,
because it's his team.
Here we go.
He said, "I am also disappointed. I have Lawrence and Ridley in fantasy. Such bullshit." That's so funny.
Yeah,
I hope my defense is better than Denver's. Yes. I'm saying that unconvincingly because of the injuries on the back end. Pass rush going to get to Tua and shake him up. We'll see, because I'll tell you right now, like the Dolphins have done an amazing job of protecting him thus far. But, hey, this is a division rivalry. Anything can happen. And with this game, I mean, in Denver or in Buffalo, I'll say this about the Dolphins. This is a huge thing in terms of scheduling. It's not happening in the bitter cold for Miami. Like, we are not into the very harsh winter yet in Buffalo, so I think that is a big advantage for Miami to come into Buffalo here. And I'm sorry, Greg, but I have to do it. I'm taking the Dolphins' hot hand right now to go into Buffalo and get a win.
All right, there you go. And then next we got the Denver Broncos again, where we're going to see a couple of these 0-3 teams.
I hate this game. I already hate this game
right now.
I don't even want to. I hate this game already because it's like two teams.
It should be easy for you because you liked the Chicago Bears before the season started.
Yeah, they let me down.
Like Denver, so
they're letting me down.
Right with Chicago in this one.
They're letting me down, Jim. It's hard to go with either one of them.
It is. It is. Everything's wrong in Chicago. I think didn't they just lose like $100,000 in like equipment or something like that too?
100 million
versus 100 million. Holy crap! What got stolen? Like
I don't know how it happened.
What the hell do they have? That just Jesus.
Listen, if you're a Bears fan, want to know more, read the article that we posted in the group.
There you go. Boom.
But this game right here, this is like a tricky game. It's one of these. It's a pick 'em. Like if you're going with points, there is no points. It's a straight up pick 'em because both teams have let a lot of fan bases down, and who knows? May the best loser win. You know, so Bears are 0-3, Denver's at 0-3. There's not a lot to like with the Denver offense. Obviously, like their defense is pretty good, decent, but Chicago's kind of struggled to find their way offensively. We thought that wouldn't be a problem now that Fields has a lot of weapons and what have you. But in this one, I'm just gonna go with the home team, and this one's gonna be my deciding factor. I'm gonna stick with Chicago and hopefully get their first win here.
There you go. And even DJ Moore didn't look so hot even last week too. He missed a couple of catches here too. You know, not being that guy.
Well, that's what happens when you don't get the ball enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like when that's the thing is like for receivers, it's a rhythm thing. If you catch a few balls, like like early into the game, kind of settles you in and you're ready for it. Greg just he goes pass rush. Oh no, that was later. I thought he was still typing.
Still typing somewhere. Oh, okay. So for me, I mean, again, I'm going to put my hand in this hat one last time here too.
Okay.
I'm expecting that Denver could turn around one of these times.
Sean Payton's going to lead them.
Sean, but if you do me wrong again one more time here, I'm never going to pick you ever again.
You're dead to me.
Yeah, exactly. You know the way I roll. That's it. You know, but I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos here.
You can't come to the family picnic.
Against a win against this team in Chicago Bears, who seem like they have some struggles of their own. But next we got the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns here. This is going to be a tough game, especially now with all the injuries that Baltimore does have. And then they just suffered a loss to Minshew Mania and the Colts.
I know.
And
I know.
And then Cleveland, finally a Deshaun Watson sighting. You know what I mean? I've been waiting for this guy to kind of do something like this, and he really came out last week. I think it was his real coming out party in this one.
Yeah, we knew it was going to take time for him, and we knew that it was going to go game by game, and he was just going to keep continuing to get better, and we're starting to see him to get back on track here. What a game. Another division rivalry. We know how these games go. It's very physical. It's low scoring. And it's if you're into defense, these are the games you like. If you're into offense, don't watch it. But the Ravens, we just, like you mentioned, like the injury list is crazy right now. So up to this point, all the players that have not practiced, Kyle Hamilton, Adefeo Owe, Marlon Humphrey, David Ajobo, but he's also been out for quite some time. Tyler Linderbaum was limited. Ronnie Stanley limited. Odell Beckham didn't practice. Rashad Bateman didn't practice. And backup running back Justin Hill did not practice. But it looks like Gus Edwards is going to make his return this week along with Marcus Williams. So big laundry list of injuries. Can they get healthy before the end of the week? That's another question. Going into Cleveland, this is going to be a real big battle. And I'll tell you right now, from week one, when we saw Cleveland's defense play and how dominant they were against Cincinnati, it was very impressive. Now, that's not to say that Cincinnati, they always have a slow start offensively, and maybe that played a little bit into the game. But man, I just can't get over how good this Browns defense looks on the football field. And with Deshaun Watson kind of slowly getting back to his old self. I know they don't have Nick Chubb, but they have, they signed Kareem Hunt. They really like this kid Ford, who is sounds like he's going to maintain the starting position. Mm-hmm. And they got all the weapons that they need. So Baltimore, they're a little bit of a question mark for me still. Like the offense, I'm not sure what to make of it. It's a little bit different, and it seems like they do pass a little bit more, but very still, into that, running game and so forth. Defense is a little banged up, so just because of that, going into Cleveland, I'm going to take the Browns.
All right. I'm going to go with the Browns, too, as well. Just again, because defense looks really good. Your top 5 defense. Offense seems like they're doing pretty well despite not having a Nick Chubb there. Mm-hmm. In Baltimore, I think struggling a little bit. Again, trying to get that identity because, yes, you fall short with that loss last week, but even prior to that, at least first couple of weeks here, week 1 and 2, really borderline games too, where it could have went either way too. They really didn't, light it up with anything, So and then suffering injuries, so it's gonna be tough. All right, next we've got the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. This is a tough game because Cincinnati, again, they are not what they could be. They're not there right now. They're off to a slow start. Joe is banged up. Tennessee plays everybody tough, but just can't really get it done here. You know what I mean? Last week, I even thought they were going to even put more of a fight.
You got to give them a little credit. They got one win.
Yeah, they got one win, but I thought, again, there was going to be more of a fight last week, and it just seemed like they just got demoralized in a sense. If you're looking at Mike Vrabel on the sideline at times, it's kind of like, oh, come on, really? Like, I don't know. It's tough, but they are going to be at home playing as a Cincinnati team that, they just came off a win here. They're feeling pretty good, but they don't look like they're 100% right now, Joe.
No, and that's the other thing too. Is like one thing that's been helping the Bengals is that their defense has kind of also helped them stay in some football games. Now the Cincinnati Bengals, just like you mentioned earlier or last week, I'll say, run the ball more, run the ball more. Well, guess what? You're facing the #1 rush defense right now in Tennessee Titans, so that may not be an option. Going into Tennessee there. You might not be able to run the ball as well. It might make the offense one-dimensional and put all the pressure back on Joe Burrow. And if that's what Tennessee is able to do, they're going to wreak havoc in the backfield. They have a stellar D-line. They put a ton of pressure in the backfield. And Tennessee Titans, their offense, I'm not thrilled with it. But they seem to just keep doing the blue-collar style offense, run the ball with Derrick Henry, throw when you need to, because they have Hopkins. They have Treylon Burks back now. Looks like he's limited this week in practice, so he'll be there. So with that all being said, it seems like they're pretty healthy along with the Bengals. But Joe Burrow, like the one thing that I'm concerned with is what I saw last week. Seems like that calf is still bothering him, and I wonder, like, if Tennessee's able to get a couple hits on him in the backfield, it might end up taking him out of the game. So Tennessee's a very tough physical group, and I'm going to go with Tennessee at home.
All right, yeah. I mean, you read into it a little bit too with the signing of A.J. McCarron too, and the fact that they
it's
just
insurance
want that
for sure,
extra just in case if they do have a plan to where he's feeling that much discomfort, where they're just going to take him out. And have that extra back.
But here's one thing. Here's one thing that we have to talk about with Joe Burrow and his injury. They had an opportunity before the season started to rest him a couple weeks. Rest him a couple weeks. Let the backup quarterback come in and play, right? And rest him to make sure he's 100% before he came back to live play. They decided, nope, we're going to play him week 1. Not 100%. He gets that, re-injures it a little bit, and now he's not going to be 100% until he rests. So you're in jeopardy of losing him. You were 0-2, prior to last game. So what did you do? You didn't do anything good for yourself, and Burrow is still hampered with the injury. So if he is forced to miss time, that could lead to a big issue for the Bengals offensively.
Yep. And so the Bengals, again, they got their work cut out for him to stop, Derrick Henry and stuff. But I think if he leads to it, they can do something with that run, and they have to go after Ryan Tannehill. I think the pressure can get there. Tennessee's defense, I think they got shown up a little bit here in the passing game. So I'm thinking Cincinnati, if they can get it right here, I think they can have a big day here for Jamar Chase and the wide receivers. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
And you notice what Jamar Chase, what the Bengals did last week. They moved him around. They didn't keep him on one side out wide. They moved him in the slot. They put him on the other side of the football field. They kind of just kept moving him around like a chess piece, and it led to a lot of mismatches.
Yep, absolutely. Next, we got the Rams and the Colts here, Joe. The Rams have been fighting tough too, even though I thought they were going to be at the bottom of the division. Or near the bottom, I thought the Cardinals are going to be there, which they are, but the Rams have fought some people tough, at least even on defense. Aaron Donald is still just an unstoppable force, and just find his way into the backfield.
Tell you one thing that we did not expect is how good that defense actually is, because they had a lot of younger personnel come in via draft and free agency, and guys that we didn't prove to us who they were yet. You know, they were too new to the league, so they are actually like taking a step forward. They're playing really good football, and that's the big difference. The Rams offense, we knew was going to be a decent offense, and they still don't even have Cooper Kupp. They got guys like Puka Nuka, who's like kind of blew up on the scene as a rookie, and, you know, Van Jefferson and what have you. But the defense is the real big surprise for the Rams. They're actually playing really good football, and that to go with the Rams offense, it's keeping them in games.
All right, Mike Tackett's in the house. He says, legend has it, Miami just scored on Denver again.
Trash.
You are fake news.
Yeah, I know.
You silly guy,
that
you.
could be a joke, a running joke for like a
we're
couple weeks
gonna
now.
talk about it next week too.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. All right, so Rams, Colts, Joe, Minshew Magic, Minshew Mania, got that team fired up. What do you think in this game here?
So we talk about Minshew. I don't think Minshew's starting.
Oh, no.
I think Richardson is going to be back.
They're going to switch it back over just like that.
Because, here's the thing. Because he's the starter.
He's the starter.
He's a starter, and they need him to get, experience. They need him out there. And listen, Richardson has done, he's made a few highlights so far this early in the season, and he has that concussion that the protocol he's still got to go to, so that's still got to get ironed out. But however, I mean, a little bit of a limelight here is full participant in Wednesday's practice. So if he's practicing in full, I got no, qualms that he's going to come back this week, because if you're allowing him to practice in full and he's still technically in concussion protocol, to me, it just shows it's trending in the right direction for him to start this coming week. However, in other injury news, Quentin Nelson did not practice today. They're all-pro guard there, so that could be an issue. DeForest Buckner did not practice as well, another big D tackle for them. So going to have to watch what happens there. And the Rams are pretty healthy. There's no real injury news to report. Puka Nuka was limited, but that just means he's going to be a full go this week. That being said, if Richardson is in fact starting, I'm going Rams all the way. If Gardner Minshew, though, if they do deem Richardson out, I'm going to say that if Gardner Minshew's there, I'm going to go with Minshew Mania and go with the Colts.
There you go. I just think that, again, for this Colts on the offensive line, it's going to be tough with what I've seen out of the pass rush here for the Rams here and Aaron Donald. I think he's going to find his way back there again, and it doesn't look good for the rookie quarterback back there, or it could be rough, too, for Gardner Minshew as well, no matter what kind of magic he has. So it'll be rough here. And the Rams, the way they've played some of these teams, again, with Matthew Stafford still there, and Atwell's been doing well. It's been kind of that go-to guy for him. But then Puka, like you said, Puka's a good guy who would end up making some noise, too, on top of it.
And what? I'll say this, too, is what? Forget that. I'm going to go Rams all the way.
Rams all the way anyways.
Because here's what I was just thinking about. I am not crazy about the secondary for the Colts. And they predominantly play zone defense, but it's not your typical zone where you're only 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. These guys are lining 10 yards off, and they're allowing everything underneath, which is dangerous, because with the Rams and Puka Nuka, he's going to tear that defense up, going over the middle and catching something short, turning it into deep, or just flat out catching 5 to 7 yard passes all day long. So amongst whoever else, like Van Jefferson and what have you. So, I feel like the Rams could put on a clinic offensively against them and kind of take on that defense. And Richardson, this could be a rude awakening for him if he has to deal with Aaron Donald and he's out there.
Yeah. All right. Next, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. After that injury to Derek Carr, I mean, we saw the difference with just Jameis Winston being in there. Team's just not the same, but it even seemed like the defense had a hard time towards the end.
The offense isn't the same without him.
No, absolutely not. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, again, we got to see what happens when you just pressure Baker Mayfield a little bit, and he makes some poor mistakes. So this one's going to be a game, I think, of turnovers.
Yeah.
It's turnovers nonstop. It's going to be rough. It's going to be whoever has the least amount. So it's going to be a tough game. I can't even. This is a pick 'em straight up. Do I like Baker Mayfield better than
Jameis Winston?
I think so, but New Orleans at home still, and that defense is, man, I don't know. What do you think on this one, Joe? You got Tampa Bay or you got New Orleans?
So for this one, the only thing that I'll say is if Derek Carr was playing, it'd be hands down the Saints.
That's what I was
thinking.
But.
And I'm gonna put that disclaimer in here because even though he has an AC joint sprain, he's week to week. So they're potentially, depending on how he feels, depending on how his shoulder feels, if he feels good enough, he'll be out there. But there's a potential where he might not play at all. They might even hold him out and say, even if you're close, sit this one out. Let Jameis Winston, do this game, and we'll reconvene next week. So I'll say that I'm going to go with Tampa because the defense that they have, if they put any kind of pressure on Winston, we've all seen him make mistakes here and there. The same thing could be said for Baker, but yeah. I'm going to lean on Tampa's side here just because it looks like Carr might not be there.
Right, and they even say to him, I guess this is the revenge game. Is Jameis Winston goes back to Tampa and he's going to pull out the victory.
He's had this game before and lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, but here's the other thing: is for this game too, it's the debut of Alvin Kamara. So how big of a factor could he be for Winston? We've seen it before, but it's like it's not the same when Winston's in there. That offense just doesn't look very good.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah, so I'm going to go with Tampa Bay as well, too, for this one. The Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. Washington has played tough, but, again, I think we've seen that Philadelphia has been that defense is killer. And that's what their identity is, this year, though. Yeah. Before last year, you'd say they were almost like what the Miami Dolphins are. Look at the offense, explosive defense on top of it. Ooh, killer. But again, maybe it's the fact that just Steichen's not there, but that offense seems a little sluggish this season, and that defense is just getting it done for them. Not that, they're struggling really badly. It's just a little off. It's not what we're used to seeing, I guess, out of the Philadelphia Eagles here. So they're not destroying teams, what you might see with the way that they look on paper. Despite all that, I still like the Philadelphia Eagles here against the Washington Commanders. The Commanders just don't have enough caliber to play with these guys.
No, and really the head coach is the offensive coordinator. So, like, for Steichen to go get a job as a head coach, he went off the tails of the HC in Philly. So, for the Eagles and their struggles offensively, I really don't know what the problem is because you have the same play caller, you got the same, personnel really, and we expected this team to be way more dominant at right now. So and so far we haven't seen that dominance just yet. But defensively, we've seen it in spurts. They have a plethora of different defensive talents across the field. So no shortage there for Philly. Washington, even though this is kind of like an interdivision type of game, it could be close. But it also could be a one-sided game for Philly here and taking advantage of a team that's still developing in Washington. So I'm going to go with Philly at home.
All right. Next, we got the Minnesota Vikings and the
Curse
Carolina Panthers.
both these
Here's
teams.
0-2 teams.
Curse both of them.
Or 0-3 teams, right?
Don't like either one of them.
Yeah. This is tough because Minnesota has been so close in every game and just can't get it done. And I feel bad for Kirk Cousins because he's running for his life. But, you haven't had your starting center either and stuff like that, so injuries on the offensive line. Defense was
He's coming back, by the way.
In there, but just those key mistakes that have kind of just killed them, and killed drives, and that's what happens. And, again, you said you're moving on from a Dalvin Cook and stuff like that, still trying to find an answer. Not having that security blanket is really rearing its head right now. But Carolina, I don't just think they're ready, though, yet again. They're still a young, fresh team trying to figure out what they're doing. Even though they're going to be at home, they're going to try and play tough. But I think this is the turnaround game for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going to go with the Vikings here.
This is an interesting game to me because last week we saw Justin Jefferson, get hobbled by an ankle injury, it seemed like. And he's not even on the injury report, which is interesting. So I wonder if, he's just good to go. But he's still got to have some kind of something's got to hamper him a little bit. I wonder if they're just going to shoot him up with some drugs he doesn't feel any pain at all to keep him going. But it could happen again in this game. He could get re-injured because if they lose Justin Jefferson for any amount of time, this team is done. Like, they don't have another go-to weapon besides him. And you mentioned the center and Garrett Bradbury. He's limited. He looks like he's going to be a full go for this upcoming game, which is a huge thing for the offensive line. But defensively, it seems like they potentially could be without Marcus Davenport yet again, Byron Murphy at corner, and Josh Metellus at safety. So that's something to monitor. And for Carolina, I'll tell you right now, Carolina showed me a lot, last week. They played very hard, very tough, and it seemed like that offense started to get something going finally. And the defense kind of fed off of that. They kept them in the game last week. I like Kirk Cousins in the Minnesota Vikings, but something's telling me to go with Carolina in this one. So I'm going to go with the Panthers.
All right. Next up, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Texans. Oh, this game after that victory, makes a little more intriguing because the Pittsburgh defense, they've been, what we thought they are. They're playing really lights out right now. They're getting the pressure. But that offense still struggling. Last week they were able to do some things. They were able to get, Carl Pickens the ball at times. Freiermuth had some. So Kenny Pickett actually was able to get some passes completed and some touchdowns. But still something missing. But I really like they were able to get the running game going, and they did a 1-2 punch and more of that Jalen Warren has been amazing here, amazing piece for their offense to kind of create a little bit of a spark for them, somebody different than just your Najee Harris back there. So if they can keep that going, they're going to be competitive in this game, and I think they should win this game. But Houston, I want to put it past Houston to make this close and a really knockout game here, real close.
So the Steelers suffered some injuries in last week's game against the Raiders. They really got their O-line beat up. So far up to this point, James Daniels, their best offensive lineman, it did not practice up to this week. Their right tackle did not practice this week. Allen Robinson got hurt, did not practice this week. And their D tackle, Larry Ogunjobi, also did not practice up to this point. So they have sustained some injuries as of last game. Houston also did, but it seems like everybody for the most part is limited and returning. Houston, I'll tell you right now, I love what C.J. Stroud is able to do in this offense with Tank Dell and being able to attack teams deep, intermediate, and short. They love their running back Damian there to run the rock. I really like what Houston's able to do right now. I'm gonna go on a limb here. I'm taking Houston at home to get another W here against Pittsburgh.
This is gonna be a crazy week at picks for us, Joe. This is gonna be
absolutely
nuts.
But
no matter what I say though, even when we do pick so drastically like this though, I'm like, it's gonna be like one side one way or something. Watch it be just a mixed hodgepodge.
We're gonna split all the games. Mike Tackett also chimed in. Cincy is number 28 in points per game. That's 15th. Number 30th in yards per game. That's 244. And number 29 rushing yards per game, 69. Number 26 passing yards per game, 175. Can we lose the narrative that the defense is keeping Cincy out games? Yes.
Yeah, there shouldn't even been a narrative. I don't
even think there should be a narrative.
Cincinnati's again defense top 16. They're 16th right now. Points forward, things like that. And
it's not their defense. Their defense is doing just fine. It's really the offense is spitting and sputtering and can't get it in the end zone.
Yep. And 10th in rushing touchdowns against them. So, not doing too shabby. And some things, again, we saw
thanks,
some
Mike, for that
what
stat.
They're doing. Absolutely. He's there on the stat line for us every time. It should be known that it's just been kind of that offense.
It should be known, Jim, but that's why people come to us.
And
because we have to shed the light. Man. Mike Tackett's always been the OG know-it-all in this chat.
Absolutely.
Every single week. I don't know where our other OG is. Where's Tom Leiter on this?
Hashtag know-it-all.
I don't know.
He's missing. MIA.
MIA. There you go. Las Vegas here. He goes, for context, I was listening to XM Radio, and they were blaming the D for their losses. You know what's funny, too, Joe?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What? This is why we need to be on XM radio.
Right? I think we do because I just had Sirius Radio now, because I got it with my Honda. From Mohawk Honda, by the way.
How disappointed are you with what you heard?
Some of the shows that are on there.
Terrible, right?
Oh my gosh. There was one guy on there, and he was a host, so he was a little more, provocative. He was out there, and hey, blah, blah, and he's talking to this guy. It must have been a former coach. I didn't even get his name, but he was just like, I don't know, And in his hot takes that he had about his team, it's like, well, I just don't know about this guy, and this team is this. And I'm like, this guy don't know what the F he's talking about, dude. And he's a former coach, stuff like that. I'm like, this jackass, that's not even entertaining, not even coming up with a positive or even a smart point at all, is on the radio right now. I'm like, I can't even listen to this garbage. And I'm trying to change the channel and listen to some other crap. And I'm like, dude, this is terrible. Terrible. I'm like, I can't find anything good at them on Sirius Radio. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, satellite radio is supposed to have a hodgepodge of everything, that can maybe find. Yeah. And I couldn't find anything good. I just can't believe it. But again, it goes to show you that, let me tell you, everybody has an opinion. So
they do. Everybody does. But
whatever
we have
somebody
the
says
best
isn't
opinion.
Exactly facts or not, but
we have the best opinion now. Right? That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, well, we listen to the guys out there too as well.
Yeah, Mike Tackett, like he's always on point with his points.
Is the problem. Oh my!
Isn't that funny? That's so hilarious. That's never once been said on this show.
Let me look back at that quick, just recap quick, because I can look at the last 3 games. Okay. Defense, they gave up 24 points, then 27 points. The first one was because of rain. Baltimore Ravens, they played tough, and that was a 24-27. So they were toe-to-toe with them.
Yeah.
And they only gave up 16 points in the last game against the Rams. Yeah. So, whatever. I think they're going to give up less points here against the Tennessee Titans. I don't think the Titans offense is going to start scoring tons of points on you.
The golden rule in football is if your defense can hold the opponent to under 17 points, most likely you'll win the game.
Most likely you win the game. Yeah.
So, the fact that Cincinnati's defense is getting the blame, which is kind of silly because a couple of those games, yes, it's above 20 points they gave up, but if the Bengals offense has been struggling like it has, you're not really helping that defense. You know what I mean? They're on the field a lot more, so they're trying to make something happen defensively to help the offense out. So that's where it seems like the struggle is until the Bengals kind of get back on track and start putting up points like they were last year. I feel like that's why they're still going to continue to not necessarily struggle, but have a hard time.
Yep, absolutely.
Next game, we got Vegas and the Chargers.
Take it away, Joe.
Oh, what a great game this is going to be. What a slaughter this is going to be. Real big key here is Jimmy Garoppolo still remains in concussion protocol and is in jeopardy of missing this game. Now, what does that mean for the Raiders? Well, the most laughable thing in the universe is guess who the backup quarterback is? It's not Aiden O'Connell like it should be, the rookie in preseason who kind of shredded up defenses. No, it's Brian frickin' Hoyer. Brian Hoyer is due to be the backup behind Jimmy G. It sounds like if Jimmy G can't go, which this is just absolutely asinine, but Brian Hoyer, not Aiden O'Connell, will be the starter. And I think that'll be a huge issue for the Raiders on offense. If that is to happen, the Raiders have no chance at all. They're pretty healthy, so there's no real issue in terms of injuries, but I just think that they're poorly coached. They don't have the personnel, especially on defense, to keep them in games. And just because that alone, like you look at the Chargers right now, their injuries right now, Austin Eckler is limited. It looks like he's going to be coming back this week. But other than that, you got Gerald Everett, didn't practice up to this point. You got Corey Linsley, the center, did not practice. Joey Bosa did not practice. Derwin James did not practice. So you see there's a few key players that haven't practiced thus far, could be in risk of missing this game. But even if all of them aren't playing, I still pick the Chargers in this one because despite the mistakes in terms of coaching for the Chargers as well, going for it on fourth down all the time, they're still going to be able to put up more points than the Raiders. They're still the Raiders defense will not be able to stop this team. So I'm going with the Chargers in LA to get the W. Enough said.
There you go. Wow, Joe. Do I even need to cover anything?
Yes.
I think you pretty much said everything.
Just say the Raiders suck.
Raiders. Again, it's,
what is it? What's going on with that coaching staff there?
Yeah, it's tough because what's going on with the running game? Again, basically, a guy who's
it's easy.
been
If you can't throw deep, you're not gonna push that defense back to get worried about the deep ball. So they're all playing short to intermediate defense. They're already up in the box, and if it is a run, they all just freaking crash down and stop the run. That's what it is. They're bottling up Jacobs because there's no deep threat.
Deep threat.
And it's not because of their weapons.
Yes.
They got good weapons to throw to it deep, but Jimmy G can't throw deep, and everybody knows it.
There you go.
Not a shocker.
There you go. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers at home, too, as well.
Campaign to fire McDaniels. Let's go.
He goes home now to mommy, and he gets reprimanded, and that's the end. Sorry, mommy.
There you go.
Mom.
Take that, Josh. Ted Mosby.
There you go.
Ted Mosby, know-it-all, in the chat says
All right.
0-3 Skull. He's a Vikings fan. He's calling for another loss here.
Winners don't use drugs.
I think he's not that confident in his team.
He's going. He wants them to be 0-4 now. What does he say?
He said 0-3 with tears shedding right there with the emojis.
Man, yeah.
So he's a little upset
that they're
0-3. But I mean, to be honest, like, did we expect him to be on? No. I mean, when Minnesota we thought was going to be one of those competitive teams for this division, and it doesn't seem so yet. But things could change. Maybe this is the turning point for them this week. And get in the W column there. But we'll see if that happens.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Then he says, as long as JJ gets 2K, nothing matters this season.
Well, here's the thing that I worry about with Justin Jefferson is I don't know how significant that injury he sustained last week. I know he's not on the injury report, but something tells me that could come back to hamper him if he gets hit low, where his ankle is or something like that to kind of re-injure it. That could be a big loss for the Vikings. He says Vikings fighting for third place. I mean, right now it's still early. Yeah. A lot of things can change throughout the season, so it's still early. Yeah, they're fighting for third place, but we'll see what happens.
Right. And
reported ankle/calf sprain. So, yeah, it's something to monitor.
Yeah, we've seen even this. We already know what kind of talent he is, but it was really apparent, I think, week 2, and how big of they need him so bad.
Everything. He's everything.
And, again, it was more apparent this week again because when it comes down to it, you had seconds left in the game. And, you know what? I would have to put some of that blame on Kirk Cousins, too, because I understand, too, you don't want to throw behind the end zone, I guess, on that play. Mm-hmm. But he did have a guy underneath I thought could really catch and then get into the end zone.
Was that Osborne?
I'm not sure who
or was
that
it Justin? Justin
might have been
the rookie there.
There was somebody that went underneath
Addison,
on like
Addison,
like not a comeback, but pretty much like a hook.
It was Addison?
Quick. Might have been.
Yeah.
He was there and could have pushed into the end zone. Plus, you were so close, you could have even got a second off to get one last play real quick. The fact you forced it early, if you just didn't look, you looked a little bit because he wasn't getting pressured either. He wasn't like all of a sudden I'm under duress. I got to get rid of this thing.
Right.
Kind of forced it in there and made a mistake, but
yeah. Ted
right,
just
it was
said,
Addison.
He goes, yes, you're right. Addison did a hitch route underneath. Yeah, and that's the thing.
I think he could have got it.
Yeah, he might have. But he is the type of guy that is so light. All you got to do is blow air on him and he'll fall down. He's so light frame. So I don't think he'll necessarily be able to push in, but he is so quick that he might have been able to make someone miss it to get in the end zone for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean.
And Ted perfectly said.
All right.
There you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hashtag know-it-all.
Kudos to Jimmy.
So, we're on to the New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys. All right. So whenever the Cowboys come up, for me, it's always what do I want to happen? And what do I think will happen? Last week, I picked the Dallas Cowboys to win.
Did. We all did, though.
We did. Yeah.
I don't think you could honestly say, like, oh, no, I picked Arizona. I don't know.
And my wife is really funny about this whole thing again because
oh, really?
she's like, I'm rooting for the other team.
She's a Cowboys fan, right?
She's a Cowboys fan too.
Okay.
Not really though. She's a kind of raised one, so she has to kind of do it a little bit. But she's not like a dead, like diehard.
She can convert.
But she doesn't get
There's a conversion.
I will pick like the Cowboys to win, but then I'm kind of rooting or I'm happy when they're losing, and I'm like, well, she goes, well, why didn't you just pick against them if you want the other team to win anyways? I'm like, well,
that's not how it works.
The logistical thing, the logical thing was that technically Dallas should have probably won that game, so I'm going to go with it for my pick. But on the flip side, I'll be happy whenever Dallas loses because they're a rival of my team.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, it's a weird mental thing. I'm not disappointed. If they win, I got one right. I'm happy I got one right. If they lose, I'm still happy, though, even though I got it wrong, because they're miserable and they lost. So let me have that. Will you please? But either way with this one, New England, they keep it tough here. I think this defense is going to play up to Dallas and do some damage against this Dallas Cowboy team a little bit. Now, the offense for the New England Patriots, not so much. Because I think he's having an issue here, Mac Jones, and really finding that kind of guy to go to. It's been a hodgepodge of guys. Hasn't been really crazy offensively doing anything here. I think they need to really try and control the run game in here. Keep that pass rush off of them. So I think if New England tries to slow the game down a little bit and can run the ball against this Dallas defense, they can stay in this a little bit here. But if they try and air it and try to pass, I think Mac Jones, you're going to see him on the ground a lot.
Bill Belichick is a very smart coach, and everybody knows that.
Yes.
He's going to go into this game with a very good game plan, and you got to take into consideration, too, that the Cowboys have a injury-riddled offensive line, and you're going up against one of the better defenses in the league. A team that puts a lot of pressure. They're going to try to confuse Dak Prescott into thinking someone's open, and maybe there could be a couple turnovers on the Patriots side that they get to be able to pick off or a fumble. Other than that, I just think that the Patriots, they are completely healthy. There's not one person injured on the injury report, so they're coming into this game very fresh. The Cowboys, not so much, and a Cowboy team that kind of got embarrassed against the Arizona Cardinals that people didn't expect were going to beat them. So I don't think they're going to have enough time to lick their wounds. They're going to have to go up against a very tough team, very well coached, and everyone's going to make a whole big story about Micah Parsons wreaking havoc on the Patriots. Well, here's the thing. Bill knows all about Micah, like everybody else. Bill knows all about DeMarcus Lawrence, like everybody else. What do the Patriots do? They utilize 2 tight end sets from time to time. You're going to expect that this week. They're going to chip Micah all the time, or at least most of the time. And same thing with DeMarcus Lawrence. And you're not going to know who's releasing at that tight end position or who's staying in the block. So I fully expect the Patriots to be fully prepared going into Dallas, and I got the Patriots to get the W.
All right, wow. Interesting.
Ted
I would
Mosby.
love that.
Ted Mosby says, with Hunter Henry hurt, Pats run the ball. Well, even with Henry hurt or not, they're going to run the ball, and they're going to take what's there in the passing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what their game plan's got to be.
The one thing for Mac Jones, like you brought up, still looking for his number one, Devontae Parker's there. Devontae's been his go-to guy since he got back a couple weeks ago. And you can even see it on the stats. He's got 9+ targets for the last couple of weeks. Definitely his go-to guy. And Kendrick Bourne is almost like an afterthought at this point. Hopefully they can kind of get him back into the flux of the offense.
It's been unreliable,
and,
so I think he's really been giving
there.
it to Hunter Henry a lot, and like kind of what Ted says here to us. So if he's not there, that's a big factor, so they should probably run the ball here. That's the only way.
Devontae did a great job last week.
I think that's the only way they have a chance.
Over 100 yards, a touchdown.
But I'm going to go with the Cowboys here at home to try and bounce back against a team. The New England, again, I think they're going to make it tough here.
Mac Jones.
I just don't think they have enough.
Ted said Mac Jones had a 93 passer rating against the Eagles defense and threw for 316 yards. That is a great stat. Mm-hmm. However,
boom, stat of the day.
That's also, it's kind of tough because it's trying to compare apples and oranges here. Like, yeah, that was against a great defense for sure, but The Cowboys are a different team. They're going to do some different things. So we'll see how this game's going to unravel. It's going to be fun to watch for sure. And I hope the Patriots just freaking beat up on the Cowboys because I don't like the Cowboys.
Yeah, me too. I'm
not afraid to admit it.
Too. Yeah, there you go. Next, we've got the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. We talked earlier on about how Arizona, they fight. They're fighters here. They're doing a little bit more than what I kind of expected them to do here.
For sure.
And so even defensively, they've been that's one I think key point thing for them too, that their defense has been able to make some plays and keep them in the games too as well. You talk about their rookie, was it Victor Dimukeje or whatever thing, something like that? It's tough to pronounce his name, but he's gotten to the backfield a lot. Just missed a sack even last week, but he's already got 2.5 on the year. And that Dennis Gardecki, the long-haired, flowing white dude on their defense too, getting in there and making some big plays for them. Kind of like no-name dudes for some of these guys out there in this team, but. When we talked about them, how they're fighters, let's see how they stack up against some of these other teams that are tougher. Well, there's nobody tougher than the San Francisco 49ers right now with that tough D that they have here too. And Brock Purdy with not making any mistakes, just getting who he's got to get to. He's got the weapons around him. So that's what's great about having a Christian McCaffrey in the backfield here, or not even that. Do an Elijah Mitchell if you wanted to too. And it's funny how much they don't even use him enough. That they're after getting the bigger leads that they've had this year, keep running Christian McCaffrey. It's like all of a sudden he's got himself on his fantasy team. He's like, no, I need some more fantasy points. But. This is going to be tough for them, but I want to see how they're competitive against these guys.
Yeah.
Either way, I've got the San Francisco 49ers, especially at home, because I think even they have the longest win streak at home consecutive too as well. Let's take a look at that one. But this is going to be tough hill for the Arizona Cardinals to climb, but I like the San Francisco 49ers, but I'm intrigued in seeing what they can do. Yeah,
I love the fight that the Arizona Cardinals have right now. They're playing really good football. It's just they're being very good at executing their plays, offense and defensively. So that's a positive for Arizona, but they are facing a big challenge here against the Niners. I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome it because the Niners are going to look to kind of just roll through them and get the W easily. So I still think Arizona is going to put up some kind of a fight, especially early on, but I just can't pick against the Niners right now and how good of a team that they have.
Ted says, if the 49ers lose, I'm a Cardinals fan.
All right. You've heard it here first. You've heard it here first, everybody.
There you go. He's gonna switch.
He's gonna have to take a picture with with some Cardinals gear, and we'll put it on the page.
Yeah, right.
Like
yeah,
new.
How about we do that?
A new Cardinal has been converted.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man. We have a new Cardinal. It's like what they do for the Pope.
The Pope, we're going to do a ceremony.
We'll have to run the smoke through the stack.
We're definitely going to do a ceremony then.
I like it. Yep. There you go.
All right.
Next, we got the Sunday night's game.
Yes, it.
Again, when the season started, I think
this
before they
awesome.
wanted this to be the cool game, and unfortunately, we're not going to get it.
It would have been so good.
Do you think they could have even tried to flex this game out, or do you think they just think this is still might be a closer game?
Honestly, they should have flexed it with Miami Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's what they should have done.
Thought ahead of it.
I know that they have certain dates that they are allowing flex. I'm not sure if it's this early in the season. I don't think it is.
No.
I think as we get to the second part of the season is when they're able to flex more.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they're just kind of locked in right now.
Yeah. I mean, because this is it would have been tougher. I would like to see Aaron Rodgers here definitely against this one.
Oh, it would have been good.
But the Jets, I don't know how much the defense can really keep these guys in here anymore. The offensive line is struggling too even now. You talked about maybe that was their weakness or whatever. They have been letting pressure get in there, but Zach Wilson, the turnovers here. Now that Chris Jones is back here with the team and he's wreaking havoc right now, and then even the other weapons they have here on defense are starting to show up too. We had a Carl Loftus showing last week too as well. So more of these guys are going to play together and get some out there and get these pressures. It's going to look bad here for Zach Wilson. I like the Kansas City Chiefs here at home away to keep rolling.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this game right here. Like, this would have been such a fun game to watch if Rodgers was there. Definitely would have been an intriguing game to see just how good the Jets could be offensively. Truly, definitely a bummer that he's not going to be there. So just that being said, Zach Wilson still hasn't, reached his potential. I don't know if he ever will. And just because of the bonehead mistakes he just continues to make, this is a team that you're playing against in the Chiefs where you cannot make any. You just can't afford to because they will capitalize off your mistakes. And I feel like that's what's going to happen in this game. The Chiefs are going to easily take this game, unfortunately. But
I tell you what, though, if the New York Jets are able to get pressure and they hit
they'll get
Mahomes
pressure.
a little bit, because he's
get pressure.
banged up a little bit too. If he gets that leg banged up a little more too,
if
we get it to see a Chad Henne versus Zach Wilson game,
that'd be
how
amazing.
About that, right?
That'd be amazing.
Then it would be.
You know who the weak link on that offensive line is? The right tackle, Juwan Taylor.
Yeah, Juwan Taylor.
He's so worried about getting beat all the time.
And see how they're now picking up on that now too.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, everybody's calling us out how we effed that up the first couple of times. Now they're calling it.
We saw it the first week. Not only was he in illegal formation, but he was also false starting to boot. And now the other thing that we noticed too, in just week 1, it was so easy to watch, is when he lines up on the line, it's a run. When he goes back into that stance where he's really far back, it's a pass.
Yeah.
So all the defenses around the league have already seen it.
Yes.
So, we'll see.
Yeah,
maybe that makes it a game. Maybe it makes it a game.
Should have a major
That'd be
conversation
crazy, man. Imagine if we come in next week and we're talking about how the Jets upset the Chiefs.
They would have already now, because that would be a crazy headline, though.
Oh,
because not only the Jets lose to some of the teams, but they would have then already, with Zach Wilson, already beat the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, go
both
figure.
Playoff teams from last season and even Super Bowl contenders.
Can't figure this NFL out.
Right? We'll see, but you're going with the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
That's right, for sure.
All right, next up we've got, and finally here, Monday Night Football. We've got my homeboy homeboy plus 21. He's saying, okay. He's saying they bury him. They could. I don't know, but because even with this offense, though, this year, too, you're kind of seeing Mahomes have to do a lot. I mean, even though now he's got Travis Kelce here, so Kelce has been able to do some stuff
definitely helpful,
for him. Absolutely. That's been a bit of a change.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he's laying this team all on his shoulders, and he has a lot. If he goes down, I think they're done. You know what I mean? This team.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those types of players or even the teams, the way they're set up. If they lose their quarterback, they are done. So
I agree. And that's the thing is, I will say this, too, about the Chiefs' offense, is they are not as, I don't want to say not as efficient, but they are not as explosive as they used to be when they had those killer weapons like Tyreek Hill. They're not. They're a different style of offense now. Mm-hmm. They are utilizing Sky Moore in the short game. They're trying to get Kadarius Toney involved a lot more. But again, it seems like it's short to intermediate. There's no more attacking deep down the football field like they used to all the time. So this team is different. And just by that change in the offense, that could kind of maybe skew this game a little bit because the Jets are a really good defense. Now, the one issue that I had with the Jets last week when they played the Cowboys is that what did the Cowboys have? CeeDee Lamb, their number one target, right? What do the Jets have? One of the best corners in the NFL, Sauce Gardner. What didn't they do? They continued to play zone, and instead of playing man and having Sauce spy CeeDee Lamb wherever he went, Sauce Gardner should follow and just play man. That would have gave the Cowboys offense such a hard time to move the football, and because the Jets D-line was not only getting pressure, but they were stopping the running lanes by themselves. Yeah. So you had that luxury. I want to see adjustments by the Jets defense. I want to see that this week against a very tough offense in the Chiefs. If we see that, this could be an extremely close game. And with close games, you have no idea what can happen. So that's what I'm going to say about that game. Next, we're going on to Seattle at the Giants.
Real quick, we've got Demir's in the house with us tonight.
Ted Mosby also says the Taylor Swift effect. Demir Nader, welcome back to the show. It's been a long time, my friend. What's going on, my friend? I think Demir, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's a Vikings fan as well. So what do you think about the Minnesota game, this upcoming game at Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Seattle here and the Giants here at home. Seattle coming off a win. Giants, again, lose, but again, they were going to play the 49ers. So I I think there's frustration on the head coach's side here with the Giants here. They thought they would be better. They got more weapons than they did last year. So what's going on here? Offensive line has been banged up, though.
Oh, beat up.
They have 4 out of their 5 are done, including their star tackle.
Beat up,
Andrew Thomas.
And not to mention, like, the lack of production from Evan Neal. Like, what? The guy's a first-round pick, a high first-round pick, and where are you? Like, you're supposed to be the star-studded, one of the next best tackles out there. And we're not seeing it.
Packers fan, by the way.
Sorry. Oh, Packers fan. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He's a Packers fan.
I've been well. Hope y'all are too. And I'm not. I'm a Packers fan. I'm not supposed to like Ted and the Vikings.
Okay, so there you go. See, yeah, so
that's funny.
That is funny. Though you had the right division, so I mean,
that's all right.
It's the rivals. That's fine.
See, I had to rile him up a little bit.
What does he think about the Packers and what's going on? What were his expectations
with Jordan Love?
Jordan Love, and whether you had a high or not, are you surprised at what they've been able to do, or even what you think their ceiling might be now that you see them?
Right. But yeah, I mean, going back to the Giants real quick
here, Ted says, Giants O-line and D-line are done. Evan Neal has been a bust so far. Yes, I agree so far. And again, a bust with Thibodeau. Like we were afraid, I think, of this pick. At least I was. I did not like it at all. And it's shown. Because, yes, they do drop him back in coverage at times, which, so he kind of plays both. You don't know, and he tries to fake going in or not. But even on passing plays, it just seems like if you're supposed to be that pass rusher, it just seems like he's engaging with the guard and not just kind of like I'm here. You know what I mean?
Like he's just hand fighting and just staying there.
Fighting a little bit and just staying there.
Like sort a spy. Almost like he's just spying all the time.
Like what some even D tackles kind of do. Like I'm engaged, so I'm not supposed to be like that pass rusher. It just seems like that's what he's doing. Not really getting in there.
Going back to the draft when Thibodeau came out, there was a lot of skewed opinions about him. Some people thought that at the next level he wasn't going to be the impact like he was in college. Some people said, oh, well, he's got such rare talent. You develop him the right way, and he's going to be one of the best pass rushers. So the league as a whole was split on him. And you can see now, like hindsight's 20/20, but you can see now the results of him not being as impactful as half the teams thought. So it was a little bit of a miss there so far. But sometimes players are late bloomers, in terms of development. So we'll see how Thibodeau, if he can get any better as we go along. But as of right now, still not there yet.
We got a bunch more comments, Joe.
Yes, sir. We got, let's see. He goes, Jordan Love will last 9 years in Green Bay from what I've seen. I expected him to be good, but he's better than I expected. I'm excited for the team and feel like they will be better once they're healthy. I had high hopes for Thibodeau. Ted said that. Demir goes, replying to Ted Mosby, he replied to him, said, definitely looking like it. We lucky with quarterbacks again. And then Ted goes, kills me you guys get another 10 years of quarterback greatness. Whoa on the greatness, Ted. Yeah. Whoa.
Hot take.
Whoa on the greatness. So far he's looking good, but let's see how it works out.
Well, yeah, but see if again that's going to be another talk that if depending on how they do, if he gets some more weapons around him too, or even
he's got
Watson's going to do well.
We're still waiting on Christian to come back.
We'll see if Christian Watson comes back and he's the same kind of guy like he started to do last year.
I like the young receivers that they've been able to compile via the draft. They really, I was high on Reed when he came out this year, and he's starting to make an impact right now. But when Watson gets back, now you're going to see all these young receivers together. And to see what this offense can really look like.
All right, so let's look at the Seattle Seahawks and the New York Giants again. Yeah. This is going to be a tough game. I would like to say I could go with my Giants here at home, that maybe they could turn it around, but I'm not sure. There's a lot of injuries. Defense doesn't look as good. The corners that they picked, that won the starting job, the rookies haven't looked very good. Still, they're still learning, but
they're developing.
It's tough. And then even Banks got injured a little bit last week. I think they looked better with bringing Adoree Jackson out back, and then even having whatchamacallit back in there again. I can't believe I can't even remember his name at this point. But one of the former corners that we had in there, I have to look it up again. Draws a blank, but they looked better without him. I mean, it seemed like they really started to lock up the defense and got back into the game. So I think that's just the way that maybe they should play it right now. But either way, I'm playing it safe the way I like to do. Again, I'm going to pick against them just because I just don't think they're running on all cylinders right now. So I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, we got some more comments here. It said, Ted goes, those wide receivers are young and always hurt, but when healthy, they will be good. Reed and Watson are dogs. Don't forget Doubs either. Doubs was making an impact early in this season. Demir said, we'll see. Love his confidence and the young wide receivers' confidence. They're playing so hungry. Ted said that DK is questionable for this week. I fully expect him to play anyway. Ted said Seattle defense is getting healthy. Diggs and Love will be 100%.
So right now, limited practice for Wan'Dale Robinson, Micah McFadden. Micah McFadden was doing terrible, but then last week did really well.
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas is limited. Azeez Al-Jalaari is limited.
All playing. You know? Limited just means they're playing.
Right now, but those ones says they're out. They're out.
Who's out?
Thomas, Al-Jalaari, Bredesen, Barkley is all out. Questionable is Micah McFadden and Wan'Dale Robinson, and that's big even for both sides. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, we really need to see what this guy can do, because even when he had a little bit of play out there, he looked like he could do something.
He had a spark.
But he just needs to be out there.
Yeah.
You know, that's the story it's been with the Giants always, is you can't see these guys really do anything because they're never out there. You know, you can't get a rhythm going if, you know, they're not out there as well. That doesn't help Sterling. It doesn't even help Daniel Jones with getting a, rapport with these guys. Right now, Darren Waller has been kind of his go-to guy. The only thing that's been bright for him.
Yeah, and even so, the defenses seem to be making adjustments to kind of take them right out of the game. And once they do that, that's when you start to notice the offense getting stagnant once again. So because they're without Barkley, because they're without their best offensive lineman in Andrew Thomas, that's another huge problem. And I feel like it's going to really affect the Giants' offense and what they're able to do. Defensively, we thought that this team was going to take another step forward and get even better. And so far, we haven't seen that. So I'm a little skeptical about the Giants right now. I was high on them in the offseason and thought they would make a big step forward with the coaching staff and what have you. But again, we've talked about it in the past weeks about how the offensive play calling was terrible with Kafka. And now that now that Dayball's taken over, it seems like the offense is running a little bit better. But with those injuries, it's really going to be tough. Seattle, on the other hand, I just like what they've been able to do. Watch it last week. They looked like themselves again. That offense was really doing extremely well. Kenneth Walker III was running rampant
you
through
look
the
at the
defense.
weapons even, too.
It was
that.
insane.
It's all over. It's
all over the place. Tyler Lockett catching touchdowns. DK Metcalf getting the first downs. It was insane. So there was a offensive party with the Seattle Seahawks last week. The defense is healthier now, too. They're going to wreak havoc. So I feel like this is going to be a good game, but I got to go with Seattle going into New York. Definitely a healthier team. What we got out? Ted said Seattle. Ted says Daniel Jones just isn't the guy. Yeah. And we've kind of debated this over and over. I was out on Daniel Jones from the get-go. Then I started to warm up to the idea, and now I find myself kind of pulling back yet again because it seems though is even if Daniel Jones is asked to be just a quarterback and not utilize his legs, he's not able to get the ball in certain spots quickly and efficiently. And that's kind of what's almost like just a little bit holding this Giants offense back a little bit. I understand the injuries, but just from watching early this season, and part of it could be offensive play calling. Maybe we'll see him get better as the season goes on. But it's just like, just when you start to warm up to the idea of the guy getting the new contract, okay, now he's their starter for good. Then you watch some of the games that he's played in. He's still making bad mistakes from time to time, which is kind of turning the ball over as well. So hopefully, as the season goes on, he's going to continue to get better, especially with Dayball calling the plays.
Yeah, but he's the most hurried quarterback right now in the NFL. If in dropbacks, he's gotten the least amount of time to throw the ball out of anybody. So it's tough when you got that much pressure on you all the time, and it's tough even to break out of that. That could damage a guy so badly that your confidence just isn't there. I think even the first game when the Cowboys were at him, I think he was just afraid to throw it because he had Jalen Hyatt a few times wide open. He just didn't pull the trigger because I think he was afraid of making a turnover.
And that's a problem. You can't have that. You can't have that.
You got to let it fly.
You got to let it go. You can't,
especially when you're against the wall.
You can't have a flash. You can't have a flashback memory like that because corners, if they have that issue where, oh, I gave up a touchdown last play, I should have knocked that ball away, and they keep thinking about it, it affects them the whole game. You have to have a short memory. In this game, you have to. In any sport, you got to have a short memory. You screwed up, okay, own it. You screwed up, come back stronger the next play. And that's what Daniel Jones, if he's not able to have a strong mind and overcome these things, he's going to continue to struggle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Joe, there you go. There's our picks. There's Monday night's game. I wanted to bring up a few different things because we didn't talk about it. But our first London game here this weekend.
First London game,
9:30 a.m.
It's going to be interesting, too.
In Atlanta and Jacksonville over there in London. Jacksonville is like a home crowd for them. So, I mean, that's got to, a big thing for them, going for them as well.
9:30 a.m.
But again, that's where they kind of were trying to push that team, maybe possibly moving there and stuff. So they got a lot of fans
that's not happening.
But something new is coming out to this whole thing. Is now there's going to be not only the game itself at 9:30, but then also an animated version. And there it is. Ted's right on board with us. The Toy Story.
Yeah.
That is going to be interesting. Like, I'm going to watch, I think, that now even, too, just to see what it really is going to be like.
Yeah.
Because I've tried the slime time thing or whatever, and it's just not my gig, and it makes it really stupid. And those stupid child actors are just super annoying, and I want to choke the shit out of them. But the Toy Story makes it interesting, and the way they're going to do it live, like, while actively it's happening with the animation.
Yeah, the cool thing is any know-it-alls out there that if you have kids and stuff and you're trying to get them into football, this is like kind of an easy way of maybe you can kind of nudge them into that direction. The Toy Story game, just like Ted was saying, it's going to be animated in real time. So whatever's happening in the game is going to be happening animated style in the Toy Story, in the Toy Story game in Andy's room.
In Andy's room.
It's got the same like environment, Andy's room, and he's got a little football, and then you got some players that are all going to be animated. So it's going to be interesting to see. I wonder how well this is going to be put together. So I'm curious to watch at least a little bit of it to see if they do it, the right way. Demir said, I'm very interested in the Toy Story game. Absolutely. Everybody should be because it's a new way to view football, and especially like for the younger generation, this is where they're really targeting, obviously, is they're trying to gain more interest with the youth so as maybe they grow up, they just kind of fall in love with the sport.
Yeah, well, with the way games are too, and
anything
with I'm just saying even too with the action capture. How are they doing it? Because we even see them wear the body suits with the balls stuck to them all over the place to capture, body. And that's usually what they do to get their likeness. And then the animation going for games and movies and things like that. How they're going to end up getting it and how they portray that. If it's just a weird skin, they're able to just lay over top. So how smooth will it look for it? But then also, again, like you're looking at it, is this going to be big for youth, and young kids? So you try to introduce them to it. Because like you said it, and I was talking about it too, as well as they're trying to grasp the young people while they're early in case they weren't introduced to football right now, to try and get them into it right now.
Early development
to get them moving into it and like it there as a cartoon kind of in a sense. And then even get to understand it a little bit as it's portrayed before to become lifelong fans when they're older. Yeah.
So the way the preview looks about it is they're not going to have any like real likeness of the players. It's going to be like kind of like a plain black skin. There's not going to be like a face really under a helmet. It's going to be like just like almost like a Gumby type figure with the motions and everything of the real time of the plays. So it should be interesting. It should be pretty cool to see as long as they do it the right way.
Right.
And I think they will because I don't think they would be rolling this out in public if they haven't done test runs to see how it could look or whatnot.
I don't know. The slime time came back, so I don't know. They should have just
still
killed
hung
that
up on the slime time.
I hate it, and Nate Burleson sucks too. Like I don't know. But anyways, it's got to be better than the Amazon crew, though, probably, too. It's got to be better than those games, right? I don't know. We'll see. But I really can't stand that crew either. Like, I don't know what you guys think about the Amazon. Has it gotten any better this year with Thursday nights?
I don't watch them.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
No,
really?
I don't watch the Amazon crew.
You know? Okay.
No, I just watch the feed.
Just the feed? That's probably the best way. I got to do that.
I don't need to listen to morons talking about the game when
it's terrible. They're unwatchable.
Well, here's the thing, and the issue is like, just like any other company, they're trying to save money. They're not trying to spend money on bigger names like that could actually broadcast and do a better job.
Well, they're borrowing people from like NFL Network and things like that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're even borrowing. They're not even grabbing people themselves.
Like, I'm sorry, but like Andrew Whitworth is not a good commentator. Like, he's an offensive lineman. I get it, but come on. Like, there's no like. The one guy that I would pick out of the panel is Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has knowledge of the game, delivers it well, also has kind of like a charisma about him that's likable. You know what I mean? But everybody else, it's like, I don't know. Like, they played the sport before, but that doesn't make them good analysts, you know?
Yep.
Anybody remember Greg Olson? Yeah, that guy with the, hair issue and everything. Like, guy could stutter over his words. Yeah, he was great. Anyway,
so there you go.
He got. Hold on, we got the. He said, Ted goes, just let Peyton and Eli do it.
Yeah,
enough said.
Enough said.
But guess what? You can't pay them enough to do it because they don't want to do it.
No,
they like hanging out at home and doing that little Monday night football thing. But I don't think they want to be like at the games in the booth type of thing. So
yep. One other thing,
idea,
too,
though.
Joe. Again, we got a Green Bay Packers fan out there. What do you think your chances are here at home against the Detroit Lions here? This is going to be a good game tomorrow night.
It is.
Support your team. But one thing I did read, or I found about this, with Dan Campbell, he was asked about when he gets ready for his primetime games.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what Dan Campbell does before. So to put this in your mind, everybody, before this game starts tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to put this on the screen. Dan Campbell here. All right, here we go. All right. He goes, I start today with 11 raw ostrich eggs. The ostrich is a living velociraptor, and my body runs better with prehistoric alpha predator protein. That's just science. Then I knock out a quick workout. All glamour muscles. This isn't for function. This is for intimidation. When my biceps are blazing and my body is hopped up on dino protein, I make sweet love to Mrs. Campbell with a photo of the opposing team's coach taped on the bedstand.
What the?
And Steven Seagal movies playing on full blast. My theory behind that is, if I can finish while looking at you, I can beat you again. Science.
No.
Wow.
That is really,
this guy.
That's really strange and messed up.
Right?
I don't know, man.
He is a wild breed, buddy. Right?
So crazy.
Get that into your mind. How about that, man?
Well, I'll just say this. I wanted to bring this up earlier in the show, but it's just something that I wanted to address for anybody that hasn't known or hasn't even heard about this. But the Washington Commanders, right? They're being sued by the Native American Guardians Association, which has been trying to get the Commanders to change the name back to the Redskins. The lawsuit states, quote, the logo on the Redskins' helmet is an actual person. It's Chief Whitecalf. Every time they go out on the field, they were honoring Chief Whitecalf, and they were battling on the football field with the same honor and integrity and courage. They should continue to honor that, end quote. So just something to keep an eye on, something that hasn't really been publicized. Like, yeah, there's articles out there, but unless you're really paying attention, you're not going to hear about it. But isn't that something? So for all the people that considered it racist, for the team to be called the Redskins and have a chief on the helmet, there is a story behind it, and it's tradition, and they want to bring it back. The very own people of the Native American group want it back. They want it reestablished.
All right,
Ted, what do you got to say? Demir said going to be a tough game, very well coached team, and Ted goes the Lions and. Quote,
I went to Jared's,
end quote.
With the win. So there you
Jeff
go.
win by 10.
So there you go. 2 opposing teams
Demir,
right there. But could
do
be
you have
just
a rebuttal?
Because maybe just because Ted is just, he's not going
He's
to
a
be.
Vikings fan. He's going to
be
say
a Vikings fan. But
I can't take
he's
him
a Lions
serious
fan
right now.
For tomorrow night, right?
I can't take him serious. Ted goes, they haven't talked about how the Bears coach quit and then got a lawyer in his house raided.
Yeah, I know, right? We said that last week.
Yeah, we
I
talked
think
about it
was a
last
little
week,
bit.
bro.
Yes.
Talked about it last week.
We dig out some more information about that. There you go.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll have to figure it out.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all know-it-alls that listen. If you're new to the show, hook us up. Tell your friends, your uncles, your family, anybody. If they like football, bring them to us. Grow this football community of ours. Head over to YouTube. Drop a subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Let you guys know when we go live. And as well, drop a like as well. Comment down below if you feel free. Also, on Facebook, you can follow us there. And anywhere you get your podcasts.
There you go, my guys. Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Ted.
He's a fan of the
Appreciate
team
you.
that beats us because his team can't. There you go. Awesome way to lead us out here with a laugh. Thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.